David, so Al Franken, remember when we interviewed, I'm doing Chris Farley. Remember when we interviewed Al Franken? That was
awesome.
Al,
remember when you were on SNL? Yes, Chris.
Yeah. So Al Franken, you're going to like this one. If you like Jim Downey, you're going to love Al Franken. He was a mainstay writer, producer, and performer on SNL for decades.
Stuart Smalley, he was in a lot of sketches as well as writing for years and years.
And we do a deep dive into the whole political stuff we wrote in terms of George Bush Sr. especially, and Ross Perot. So there's a lot of process in this one. I love that word. A lot of process of how you do SNL. Hey, I'm not going to be upstage.
I know, what the fuck? We forgot.
Oh, wait a minute.
Who cares about Al Franken? We got to get our looks. We don't look the same anymore. Thank God.
We've done too many episodes. We're getting punchy. We've done like 50 of these, 60. Anyway, Al Franken, he's a good friend. He's an ex-senator. He always was very politically astute and very into politics. No surprise he became a senator. Now he's out back on the road doing stand-up, and we have a nice chat with our friend Al Franken.
I knew nothing about politics, and I'd go, what is that? Who's that? That's someone who's a senator? And he goes, why don't you know this?
Yeah. You said, who are the Dummycrats?
I didn't know anything when I got there. I still don't.
It's better to stay out of politics at this point. Just everyone's so angry and sad. Even our president. These people, the MAGA Republicans, who got more MAGA, and the MAGA Republicans take over the country at such a time.
Everyone goes like this, huh? Okay, Al Franken, here we go. It's a good listen.
Roll it.
You blame DocuSign on Al?
No, Al is on the phone to Putin or something. Yes, I really...
Is that Putin?
Putin, I wouldn't do it if I were you. I just think we can come with some... Oh, I got to do a podcast. Okay. Fly on the wall.
I got it.
Fly on the wall.
Putin called Al to say, how do I get SNL not to make fun of me?
We were going to call our podcast The Al Franken Show. But I said, but why? He's only going to be on once. And they said, okay, but...
Me, Al Franken.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Fly on the Wall with our very special guest, SNL legend and Senator Al Franken.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
Al, there's so many things in your career that we're looking at to talk about.
Your new nickname is The Touchstone.
I did Saturday Night Live,
I do know that is a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
We want to go with a deep dive. Our other name for the podcast is The Hot Seat. So welcome, Senator.
We really grill him.
Yeah, I've heard you grill.
We love our...
We're the worst two hosts I think we've been voted, but that's okay. That's okay.
We're terrible, but we know it, which is kind of helpful. If we
That's
thought
the charm.
That's
the charm of you guys. That's what people love about you.
Yeah, I didn't go to interview school.
Right. They say you have no qualifications. We're like, well, you don't need them. It's a podcast. You don't need anything.
You have a chemistry between you.
Yeah.
Is that a little Ed Wynn? That's a little Ed Wynn.
Friendship and affection for each other.
And
very funny.
Thank
each of you and both together. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's not Stuart Smalley, but it's some other kind of character that's sort of sweet and.
I'm on the Upper West Side of New York right now. I think I'm just channeling the last person I ran into.
Sweetness. There's something about
Al got it. Dana, Al is very smart. He went to Harvard. He also got a 800 on the math section of the SAT. No, I don't think that's out of 1,000.
Al did not get a 800 on his math.
My mom said that on I once did a radio interview in Minneapolis, and my mom, her apartment had burned down. And so she had to come with me. I was promoting a book. And so we're doing a radio interview. And I said, okay, Mom, you're not being interviewed. We're like in the green room. Then I had to go to the bathroom. And then I come back and I go, where's my mom? And she's being interviewed. And she's going, Alan got an 800 on his SAT.
Within 20 seconds, you pulled that out?
Within 20 seconds. Yeah.
Wow. So. But okay, so seriously, so you're a math whiz or a brainiac? I mean, what is that about?
No, I was just good at math, and up to a point. I mean, I peaked at algebra 2. I mean, I took calculus freshman year, and I went, what? I have no idea what this is useful for, and I don't like it. And then I became a comedian.
I have to say, I was good at math, Al, and when I went, one of those didn't click with me. And I think people that are good at all math is very interesting, because it was like algebra, geometry, and then one of them I stopped at and said, I don't get it at all. And then they go, well, then you're dumb. And I go, well, that doesn't. Anyway, Al was in the Minnesota comedy sketch scene back. Was that a big scene back? It says that's where you started.
I don't know where you got that thing. There was a thing called Dudley Riggs Brave New Workshop, which was Third City. It was like SE. In fact, Del Close taught. And Tom was in their troupe. Tom was in. Okay. And I'll give you an example of, Tom Davis and I met in high school. And we started performing together at this theater. We went to like an open. There weren't mics. It was a little theater, and we were able to get on, and the owner liked us, and we were able to do shows there. And I went off to college, and Tom became a member of the troupe and got the training, the improv training. And anyone who's interested in comedy, I would do that, because I'll give you one example of where it really came in handy. Remember Julia Child bleeding to death? That sketch, Danny?
Yep.
Okay, so Tom and I wrote that, and we're looking for an end. And in improv, you're taught to look for objects, because you're out there on the stage with nothing, and you're improvising. And one of the techniques is to find objects. And at the end, we were looking for a blow for the scene, and Tom said, the phone. There's the kitchen phone. And so, Danny as Julia Child is going like, the phone, and an emergency, call 911. And Danny picks it up and starts to dial. He goes, it's a prop phone, and throws it down and then dies essentially. Yeah. And that was like, it was really, Tom and I as a team, each kind of complimented each other in certain ways. That was one of the ways he did. So people who are listening to this podcast are really interested in comedy. And young people ask me all the time, should I do improv class? And I go, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we always say, get in a kind of a biker bar and try to do 5 minutes. That's the path. Stand up is a lot rougher.
I didn't biker bar.
Whoops. Oh.
Al, that was one of the best sketches ever. That was one of the top most memorable sketches.
That was one that peaked on air. You know how you knew you had something. And you were just going like, oh, please peek on air, please. And that was one of the, you guys will attest to this. If something worked in dress, it was in air, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that worked in dress. And it was Walter Matthau was the host, but we didn't have the blood quite right. And we held it because we didn't have the blood quite right. It still kind of killed. And here's the thing is that it was an insecticide sprayer underneath the counter, and the special effects guy was running it. And because Tom and I had written it, we went to the special effects guy and said, can Tom run the insecticide?
Right, because it's like part of the joke. Yeah. You got to get it right.
And the guy, it's a union job. They could have said no. But they love Tom, and so Tom did it. So Tom and Danny time those spurts, and that's and then it was one of those things where you're going like, oh, please get it all on air, and it does, and you go, yay, whoa.
Wow. So you actually platformed it and then said, let's wait until we get the blood spurt thing.
Yeah. And that's was really rare, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If it would work no matter what, but it wasn't, but I guess
maybe that just adds to it so much to make those things work perfect. It's so much part of the joke. And then it goes boom, 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 boom. And he's saying something funny. The blood comes out perfectly. And it just builds. Yeah.
And you know what that feels like when it just works on all cylinders. So
you know what it feels like when it peaks at dress too. That's a sickening feeling.
And there were years where we did not tape dress.
Oh,
really? So you didn't have a fail-safe then?
Well,
for the West Coast
and for the repeats. Yeah. Sometimes,
repeats.
And now they do, of course. And so,
Al, when we were there, let's say 91 to 96 was. I mean, I think we did tape dress. I never really saw them. They didn't really do anything with them, but maybe they did tape them. I don't remember.
No, I think certainly in the repeats, I don't think they changed it for the West Coast unless something.
I think they do that now, though. They say they'll see it in the West Coast, the better one. Like, wow,
yeah, and
what a luxury! God,
I know.
Al, can I ask for a second something about you and Tom, because it's always interesting origin meetings and how you guys were partners in crime for so long. Like, do you remember, like, it was the 8th grade PE, or did you connect with them right away, or do you have any kind of McCartney-Lennon-esque thing? Because you guys obviously connected. 10th grade, sophomore.
And I changed schools. I went to the public school system until 10th grade, and then I don't need to go why I went to this all-boys private school, but it ruined my life. But anyway,
it involved let's just say it involved shoplifting.
And then we would have chapel in the morning. It was like this school founded at the turn of the 20th century for a school for Protestant boys, and they started letting Jews in the 50s to get the SAT scores up. And so,
okay, I'll let that just lay there for a second.
Well, yes, that's actually truer than you can possibly imagine. But
sure.
So I get there, and Tom makes an announcement. The reason I said that about the religion was that we had chapel in the morning, and they had a big pipe organ, and you sang, these hymns. And
Christian songs, okay,
and when the first week I got there, I just didn't sing them, and my math teacher asked me to stay after class, and he said to me, "Mr. Franken, you want to go to a good college, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, and you're going to need good math scores for that, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'd sing the hymns."
Jeez, blackmail.
Then I sang the hymns, and I loved singing the hymns. A mighty fortress is our God. That.
Oh yeah, did you ever sing "Onward, Christian Soldiers"? That was kind of catchy. Onward, Christian Soldiers.
Yeah, there's some great hymns, and I didn't mind. I didn't care.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after the hymns and some, faculty there'd be announcements, and Tom was really funny, and organizations would send him up to do announcements. So, like the first week of school, I went up to him. I said, "You're really funny." And then we started doing stuff together. We started doing announcements for the, meeting of the chess club or something. And we did all kinds of we did Karnak. We did just, all of that stuff.
They let you do it, huh? And they let you kind of screw around.
They loved us doing that. I mean, it was fun. And it was where we really started in chapel.
Could you? There's been people mentioning, 75 to 80, and specifically Jim Belushi. And I just want to get your take. John, sorry, Jim.
Jim mentions it.
Jim, but John. sorry, Jim. I apologize. John Belushi. Apparently was sort of an intimidating figure, or he became one. But anyway, our friend Jim Downey talked to it. And I'd like to hear your take on, season 3, and what was going on with John,
Well, I heard Downey's interview with you, and it was great. I'd recommend that to anyone. And he mentioned a time that I think he was referencing, and this was my memory of it. One of the Charlie's Angels, Kate Jackson,
Jacqueline Farah or Kate Jackson?
I think Kate Jackson was the host. Okay. And I only referenced because I remember that was it. And he was very bad off then in terms of drugs. And so he was terrible in dress. So Jim and I had written a sketch, and I said, we got to just go and talk to him. And so, and Jim was intimidated at the time more, and I just knew Belushi from the get-go, and I just knew that he could be intimidating, but he wasn't going to do anything. So not
to the state wrestling champ, but go ahead. We'll talk about that later.
Well, I was hardly that, but so anyway, we go in, and I go, John, let's run lines on this sketch because, frankly, you were pretty bad in it and didn't know the lines. And he just goes like, "Get out of here!" He makes a fist and down, And I'm going like, "No, I'll tell you what, John. We'll just read them to you so that they'll sound familiar when they're coming out of your mouth." and that's what we did. We just read him the sketch over and over again. Jeez. And he was marginally better. This is kind of his worst point. But I never saw him actually do anything other than, physically to intimidate anyone, or other than his bearing. And he wasn't, he wasn't great to the women in terms of that, showing respect and the women writers and stuff. So, yeah, but god damn, he was funny.
Yeah, brilliant comedian. I'm just sort of curious, like, what were the things he was taking and how did it affect his performance? Was he taking cocaine where he'd speed up, or was he drinking so he'd slow down, or do you remember?
I think it was mainly cocaine at that time. It's funny, when I first ran for the Senate, one of the first interviews I had, I thought SNL was going to really help me.
This is great.
This is a feather in my cap. Everyone loves SNL.
Oh yeah, they did bring up a lot of your sketches, didn't they? Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So my first interview is one of my first interviews. The reporter says, "Yeah, when you were at Saturday Night Live, did you ever do cocaine?" And I say,
"What's that?"
Yes, and then I say, but I only did a little so that I could stay awake late enough to make sure that Belushi didn't do too much.
Good line.
Oh, good one.
And which was a joke, and most people recognize as a joke, but the media, I've learned, has a vested interest in not getting jokes. So the guy kind of wrote it up as Al Franken conceded that he used cocaine while at Saturday Night Live.
Breaking news.
But said that he only did a little so that he could stay awake late enough to make sure that John Belushi didn't do too much. Belushi later died of a drug overdose.
Connect the dots.
So anything I ever did, oh my God, I think of, there was one line in great sketch, Comedy Killers. Were you guys around for this?
I think I was. It sounds like
okay.
Something.
Comedy Killers was a Jeopardy-like game, but the premise was, and Downey and I wrote this, and I'm sure, and other people kicked in. It was one of those things where people kicked in at the table. So it was just the categories were like cancer, the Holocaust, Kennedy's, that kind of thing, and. So there's one joke, and Rosie Schuster wrote this joke. So this might have been earlier than, or maybe she was
right. Lorne Michaels' ex-wife.
It was, yes. It was Jeopardy like. So this would have been a bad Hanukkah gift for Anne Frank. And then, what was a drum set?
That was.
And so I later told that joke like I'm telling it now. And so that gets like, Al Franken told jokes about the Holocaust.
Yeah. He's coked out of his mind and he doesn't care about the Holocaust. Al
You should have said he told pretty good jokes.
Out of his mind. I like that.
Yeah.
So
in one of his cocaine frenzies,
yes,
the Holocaust joker cokehead also said,
I don't know about you. I don't know if I want this guy running the country.
He feels cocaine and the Holocaust are a joke. What else does he feel?
It reminds me of those political ads we used to do.
Yeah, those are the best. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah.
So funny.
I had a kind of a Gap Girls. It's
all right,
a story, but it's really just about the Gap Girls set and Paul McCartney. So
I love
it. I think I remember this.
Okay, well, Paul McCartney. Okay, as well for your listeners, the first thing that was rehearsed on Thursdays, we shot promos maybe first, but the second thing, maybe the first thing rehearsed was the music, because the music set was the music set and was there, so you didn't have to bring in a new set. So when Paul McCartney came to play, everybody at 30 Rock knew he was the guest and knew when the music rehearsal was. So 8H was filled with people for the rehearsal, and Lauren goes up and asks Paul, I'm there, right there, and he's going up to Paul and he says, "Could you do Hey Jude?" How would Lauren say that?
Could you possibly find your way to Hey Jude? It's just it's just exactly like a really, really, really big hit.
Yeah. Sorry, I think "Find Your Way to Hey Jude" would be exactly right.
Lauren,
so Paul goes like, "Well, we're not really playing at this tour, so I don't know if we really know it." And I go, "Hey Jude," and he goes, "No," and because the lyrics are so like this, confusing. But I think Paul was actually. I think they were doing that tour. So he goes to the band, then he comes back and says, "Yeah." So they play Hey Jude in the studio, full of people there. And everybody is so blown away and moved. And I'm like crying because this was, I was like 16 when Hey Jude came out. Yeah. And it was that it just meant so much. And I'm literally, where's my life gone? I remember sitting in the car, not, if Hey Jude was on, if I arrived at my place, I waited to the end of Hey Jude, and I'm just so moved. Okay, they're doing a Gap Girls sketch that week. Okay,
now Gap Girls is going to enter the story. Okay, great.
Yeah. So we're on Saturday, and during meal break, they have the music rehearsal. So I go, of course, because I'm going to play Hey Jude, and I go on the floor, and I notice while they're playing Hey Jude that there's a guard on the Gap Girls sketch guarding the clothes. Yeah, because the clothes on the Gap Girls sketch was so, I guess, valuable enough to have a guard there. So, but I see that the guard is so transfixed with Hey Jude and I need some jeans.
And you need some jeans. Okay, got it.
And I need some jeans. So I watched during dress. He's still during air. I took 2 pair of 3630s.
3630.
3630?
Yeah, that's what I was at the time. 3630s. I'm short and.
Well, you have gigantic legs. Remember the night? Yeah, you and Farley would sometimes, in a fun way, wrestle. At least one night, I remember you guys. It was like Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know that Al was a wrestler, but your build is very powerful. And Farley was, and it was like Goliath colliding. Who actually won that wrestling match in the middle of the night on 17th floor?
Well, I think it was just a kind of a man affection thing.
Yeah, you guys were laughing
how playful.
when you did it.
Yeah, obviously everyone was turned on.
Yeah,
all the writers also.
Especially the women.
Yeah. Actually, Dana, back to that. The Gap set, they donated a corner, the set, all from the Gap, and it was all real. So they sent their own security saying, we have to make sure this comes back in one piece.
Oh, okay.
And that's what happened. So I remember because they told me, don't worry, all the Gap stuff, all the cable crews, everything's going to be still there on Saturday. No one's going to be able to pinch. And then yeah,
I did.
I think maybe you had told me that. That's a great story.
I actually went to the prop master and said I took 2 jeans. And he said,
full disclosure.
Have you guys just throughout any kind of career appearance on a TV show or whatever, and then there's wardrobe left over, and there's something that you really like, and then you sort of ask casually, could I kind of keep this jacket? And it's really fun when they say yes, even though it might only be a $20 jacket. Something about free stuff on a set or a TV show.
Well, I never acted in a movie, and like you guys have.
Stuart Smalley.
Well, I did, but why would I keep Stuart Smalley's clothes?
Yeah, okay.
Trading places.
I got his sweater. Was what I was going to say.
Well, I was Porter. I was Stone Porter number 1, and Tom was Stone Porter number 2.
Did you write Trading Places?
No. We were just given this little part, and it was Stone Porter number 1, Stone Porter number 2, and we smoked a joint in it, and they took that away because Eddie smokes a joint, and remember, in the bathroom. So we were playing Stone, but no one had seen us in the movie smoke a joint, so we were kind of dim-witted or.
Did you actually do like a stoner dude voice? Did you do like a character?
Yeah, we were kind of like, yeah, like
what?
That. And
okay,
we thought that was motivated by them having seen us smoke pot, but it was fine. It was fine.
So Al, you kind of have a reputation like you do risky stuff, and I just want to start with this one. Okay, and I don't know if this is true, but it's 1980. Lorne's going to leave, and you were potentially one of the heir apparents to then take over SNL and be the executive producer. Is that possibly true? But you wrote a sketch about Fred Silverman, the then head of NBC, or he was in it.
Was stupid.
Is that is that true?
In hindsight,
that was not biting the hand that feeds. Did that? I mean, what was that?
Yeah,
sketch?
I mean, look, my life is unfolded the way it's unfolded. So,
okay,
but that was stupid. I didn't think that necessarily that was going to happen anyway, and I was kind of up for leaving myself also. So I just did limo for the lamo, and it was just about how, like. I didn't get a limo. I see even Garrett gets a limo and or something like that.
Right.
But I don't get one. But Fred Silverman gets a limo. And then NBC was tanking at the time. And I was one of the executives attached to the show begged me not to do it. And we had the ethic that if it's funny, we do it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was kind of it. And, so
did it come back to hurt you in any way? Then you were going to leave the show
only in
anyway.
the sense that Fred Silverman has hated me ever since, and that he was the head of the network. But no.
But Al, what about when I just watched this whole update bit you did about you came back, and I guess it was Gene Domanian had come and gone within 6 months. And you did a whole update piece. Was Chevy the host? Is that why he was there?
Oh, he must have been. I think it was like an interim thing. Where who came back with Ebersol, I think. Then
you were sort of making fun of him too,
and I was kind of making that was
ballsy bit.
Yeah, I was saying kill the show or something like that, but then a writer's strike happened right after that, and
But you always did edgy stuff, didn't you? This is jumping ahead for a second, but just to your not censoring yourself. Didn't you suggest to George Steinbrenner, the billionaire owner of the New York Yankees, who was the host, that somehow he would be on all fours with a dog collar? And there'd be no.
I had him play. I wrote a sketch where he's playing Petey, who is kind of. Like wears a beanie and shorts, and is just, and everyone just say like, Petey, you're so stupid, Petey. And he would just, it was all clearly just a pretext to say to say stuff to George Steinbrenner like that, and he wouldn't do Petey.
He wouldn't.
Is that the one where Odenkirk and Conan were supposed to go try to keep talking him into doing a sketch or something?
No, this was, I don't think so. I did Petey, and I just thought it'd be very funny. He had like a beanie with like a twirling thing on the top.
Yeah, and he was this wealthy,
and then, I
powerful.
think we made him get on all fours in the sketch.
That's what I remember going,
and kicked him in the ass. That's right. I think that was
that's it. Yeah, he got him on all fours, kicked him in the ass. And were you shocked when he turned down the sketch?
Well, yeah, I mean...
he was kind of weird. I don't know if he was the kind of guy.
He did a decent job. We wrote a sketch for him and Nealon and Jan and Victoria where it was just George is Nealon's boss and the two couples are going out to dinner and Nealon offers to pick up the check And George says, "No, come on, I'm your boss." No, you always picked it up. I'm going to pick it up. And no, I'm your boss. I'm taking the check. And I know I'm taking the check. And then he takes it and goes, "Well, that was pretty easy." And then Nealon goes, "Okay, I'm taking it. I'm taking it." And then it just escalates.
Yeah. He was good on the show.
Jan kind of goes, "No," it was one of those. And Steinbrenner was very good in it. Actually.
I just remember him going around 8H asking people where they went to college and like, Penn State, oh, good school, Cambridge, oh, nice school. And then he came to me and goes, "Where'd you go to college?" And I said, "San Francisco State." His face went blank and he just turned and walked away from me.
Really?
Well, San Francisco State, I guess it wasn't a sexy college.
God, that makes me think George Steinbrenner is a dick.
Or a guy who just loves higher education. It was just a funny school that I went to. Now,
San Francisco State is a fine school.
There are stories that you always feel like everyone's heard, but I don't really know the George Harrison legendary visit. I'll give you a choice. Either that or talk about the character, the brain tumor comedian.
Okay. I'll do Harrison real quick.
Both, yeah.
So this was an epic thing. I missed it, but he comes to SNL in what year? Like 90, whatever.
Yeah.
Probably not 90. I would have been there.
95.
89, 88, something like that. Conan is there.
And I wasn't
I've discussed this with Conan. And basically, George Harrison shows up on the 17th floor. He and Lauren are going out to dinner. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, George Harrison's here. George Harrison's here. They're going out to dinner. They come back a few hours later, and he is just drunk. And so now it's like 10:30, 11.
I love it.
And as you know, this is Tuesday night. Tuesday night, and that's when the show gets written. And this year, I was one of the producers, and he starts to play the piano.
Fun.
A gift.
In the read-through room, and everyone just is like gathered round, and George Harrison's playing the piano. A Beatles playing the piano. And it's going on and on and on. And I'm going like, the show is not going to get written. And so I just go to Phil Hartman. I say, "Phil, watch this." And you remember my office is right next to the piano,
right across. Yeah.
So I go in my office and I just slam my door as hard as I can. I didn't see him because I'm inside, but George like jumped like 3 feet off the piano bench, came down, and then left. And everybody was just furious at me. And I just said, we got to write this show. And of course, Rue McClanahan was the host. No.
And she sat down at the piano and wouldn't stop. That piano
so
was
that's that
beacon.
Story.
Oh.
And the brain tumor comedian was Tom is so funny in this piece. It's, we would do the Franken and Davis show, which was a show within the show. And this one is, I have a brain tumor and I have this bandage with a big discolored lump on it. and Al's always wanted to do a single. And he's he's got a brain tumor. So, you're going to really enjoy this, folks. This is Tom. And then I start, you hear about the rabbi didn't give, didn't charge for giving circumcisions. He only took tips. Woof. And then the next joke I tell, I start to space out. And every joke the punch is always, he only took tips.
Oh.
And then Tom behind me would like encourage the audience to laugh. And it was really funny. And Tom was really funny. And of course, we got a few letters. Have you ever watched your wife die of a brain tumor?
Have you ever thought of a sketch out where you thought of it and said, no, too much? Too far.
Yes, of course, but I can't remember any.
Okay.
Right off the
but I can't remember.
It was few and far between. But let's talk about some stuff we did together.
Yeah.
Dana. And Downey. I think I've told you this. Downey had this credo for the political material we wrote, which was Downey. It was a moderate Republican, a very thoughtful, conservative in the best sense Republican, and I'm obviously a very progressive Democrat. And we felt that it wasn't the job of the show we felt the job was to do satirical political satire that was well observed, but not, biased in one way or another. So, and Downey had this motto, which was, we're going to reward people for knowing stuff, but not punish them for not knowing stuff. Mm-hmm. So the point is that you could watch it and not be a political junkie at all, not follow politics very closely and understand it. But if you were someone who did, there was another layer, and that's pretty sophisticated stuff. But but Downey and I were pretty. I'm very proud of the stuff I did with Jim, and we did so much with you. And Jim didn't say this when we're talking about you doing the Bush cold openings, which we use as a crutch. It was basically, we can always do Dana one on home base, and Downey is right. Sometimes we wrote them on, and
they were long.
But here's the thing that I tell people a lot, which is in dress, and those were well written by and large. Downey kind of said, well, sometimes we threw you out there with nothing. I don't you made a lot out of whatever we gave you. But what would happen is we would send you out there with something actually well thought through. You would get so many laughs at will because you just do the hand thing over there, doing that, it would spread. Thing.
Got to do that whole area.
Will get laughs. So we had to tell you between dress and air a number of times, which I don't think anybody has ever told a performer, don't get so many laughs because you're not following the through line of the audiences, and they're losing the through line. And you knew exactly what we were talking about. You knew exactly how to dial it down, and you did every fucking time. And which was, you knew exactly what you were doing. You had such control. And of course, you helped write those and added to them. And I also want to tell another story about you, which is, and I think I've discussed this with you, but in I guess it was when did Clinton run? 92. So Tsongas was running and Jerry Brown was running.
Yes.
Yeah. Tsongas, and we had a 2-week break, which was rare. And a 2-week break. And you said to me, as we were about to go on break, said, can you work on Tsongas for me? Just on the idea of Tsongas and what to do with him. And so I started playing around with his voice. And I nailed it. I got it really great. And then I gave a speech at the Kennedy School, on political satire. And I killed with Tsongas. So I come back and I'm really embarrassed. And I say to Dana, could I do Tsongas? And you just went, yep, I'll do Jerry Brown.
Love Jerry Brown.
And the thing about you is that you knew Jerry Brown.
Yeah.
Part of it is that you went to, a lousy
campaign.
San Francisco State and California.
But Jerry Brown was a great character, but your Tsongas was hysterical. Whatever your take was, I remember it killing.
Right, it was Snagglepuss with a
Kermit
with a Massachusetts accent.
Yeah,
Snagglepuss,
and he really had a voice that odd. I mean, it wasn't that big a leap. Yeah. Very extreme.
Yeah.
I have a question out. When you and Dana were formulating Bush, it was right before I got there, but I just watched a Bush Dukakis early on debate, which I don't even know if it was a cold opening. It was 14 minutes, which is pretty long.
It might have been, but it was
great.
It was during the campaign.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
That was Diane Sawyer.
Everyone was with Downey the line, which was, I can't believe I'm losing this guy.
Yes.
And yes, I wrote that line, but the line only worked because of this long setup.
Right. Of Bush rambling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it was Diane Sawyer, Jan Hooks playing a very sultry Diane Sawyer.
So funny.
Saying hilarious. and basically asking him a question, and you kind of go, well, stay the course, 1,000 points of light, stay the course. And then she just went, for the first time in this, she just went, you still have another minute 45, Mr. Vice President.
And he just saw him dancing.
Stay the course.
Yeah.
And then
bring it down.
And she does that back and forth with you like 3 or 4 times. And finally she goes, Governor. And then I can't believe I'm losing this guy. So that
John
was,
Lovitz. Yep.
I wrote that line, but only because of that set up that line.
Right.
I think I
totally.
slotted the line off the set.
And John,
the whole script, and Lovitz nailed that one, by the way. He was great in that sketch.
Lovitz was great as Dukakis, and I don't know if I've told you this, Al, but on election night when Bush won, Lovitz called me and essentially conceded. Well, you're going to be doing the president for 4 years, and the fake Dukakis conceded to the fake Bush before the real Dukakis conceded to the real Bush. But then I knew I was going to be in the hot seat, and I didn't really have the impression at that point.
You didn't quite have it, and we did sit down, and you started developing that.
Well, do you remember the exact moment? Because it was just you and me in a room trying to find it. And I said that doing that thing out there with the finger up, the lazy finger,
like that was
doing that thing in that whole area, and we both looked at each other and laughed, and that was the end. It's very interesting how one little hook, and then it went to not got that.
Well, I remember you were one of the first guests on my podcast, and you said to me, because I laughed, and you said laughter is the oxygen of comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. If you have someone laughing and you're riffing, then it is. The machine keeps going. So you laughed.
Exactly.
And I knew. Okay, this is great. And then we had Jim Downey coming in. It was like I felt really blessed to have you and Jim Downey working on it. But you seem to be the primary driver, instigator of the subject matter, and which we talked about, but it was interesting that when Bush was riding so high, he was 90% approval after his first 2 years in the Gulf War. All the sketches,
of the Gulf War,
all the sketches were about how he was impenetrable. And when I did it at D.C. for the Democratic fundraiser, everything was about, I'm going to get elected, and it was just this super happy comedian.
He was literally at 89%.
Yeah, insane. Well, try to beat me.
And that's because he let us out of Saddam invaded Kuwait, and he put this coalition together.
Everyone could do it now.
Well, it's the guy. You're just doing the guy who figured it out, and not unlike what Biden is doing now, in a way.
Come on,
put this coalition
we got inflation. People can't get the baby formula. I love yelling Biden. I love his yell. It's so funny. Yeah. We got to find a way to do it.
One of my favorite hooks that we started doing this kind of a couple of years ago or something. We started trying to work on Biden, and you were doing it. But one of the hooks I like is. And that's no hyperbole. He does that a lot.
Yeah. My father lost his job. No joke. That was the first one.
No joke. That's joke. Right. No joke.
Not kidding around here. Come on.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
What the guy said.
Nazis killed 6 million Jews. No joke.
No joke. Not doing.
Oh, I thought that was a joke. Okay.
That was the first hook into him. Now, in fact, is a lot. And guess what? There's a lot, it went up. I know how to create jobs. I know how to create them. I don't know how to be a job creator. He goes to the whisper, and then he goes back to the yeller. But there's a lot there for sure. And then we had Perot was dropped into our lap to just follow that sequence.
Well, remember that I just saw Perot. Mm-hmm. And I got a tape, and we went in Lauren's office and showed you Perot.
Yeah.
And you said, "Oh, there's a 3-dimensional,
fully fledged
character in there he is."
Yeah, it was like Sarah Palin and Ross Perot are sort of bookends of 3-dimensional, comedically already funny characters that just walked on the stage. Perot was like next level funny as a character.
Yeah, he was. And then we did a cold opening. And
you wrote the very first one, and it was a very funny take. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, basically him saying, you don't have to pay me anything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But if GP, gross domestic product goes up 4%, I get $1 billion. It was like
he gets a taste.
Deal. Yeah. And then he called he called on Monday at 9 a.m., of course. And we got in at 2 p.m. and a receptionist got us on with him, and you and I were on, and he was not interested in the writer at all. He was interested in you. And
yeah.
Of course.
But he at least he seemed to be a good sport. He was a good sport about it. I mean, he said, here's an idea.
I think most ahead.
Most were, this is a great idea. You go out and campaign as me, and I campaigned as me. So it'd be two of me campaigning all over the place. I mean, he just thought that's was
precisely what he said.
Yes,
that is exactly what he said.
You don't have to write anything with him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And no, and well, you played both Perot and Bush, and lucky Spade got to be
full circle.
Yeah.
Got to be in
the wide shot as
fucking
Perot.
Wide Shot Productions.
So David had to get the hair, the nose, the ears, the suit, everything to look like Perot.
I'm so stupid. I didn't even know what was going on. I thought, am I doing Perot? I go, I guess Dana can't. And through the magic of TV and bad luck, he could. And I do remember seeing Perot on something, and obviously I wasn't a political guy, and I was like, Al, what you were saying is, if you're just a casual viewer, you get, I understood the cold opening stuff. I didn't get the second layer of jokes, but I wasn't political, so I didn't even wasn't about Republican, Democrat. I was just going, is this funny or not, whatever. And they were always great. And then when Perot was on something on the weekend, like a Meet the Press I accidentally saw, I thought, look at this little clown. This is hilarious. And he was like, someone gets to go do a stand-ups act, because he's already funny. And I go, and he was a little pipsqueak, and I go, oh, maybe I could. And that's how out of it I was. By the time I called Smigel and I just said, hey, is there any way? He's like, we got it covered. I'm like,
I got it down. Probably even more fun than George Bush Sr., at least this phrase. You're not listening. Can I finish one time? Just that, to me, that's
one time.
You're not listening. Can I finish one time? Or are you going to interrupt me again?
Can I finish?
Can I finish one time? You're not
like a
listening. Can I finish one time?
It's
like James Brown or something. Can I finish one time?
Well,
hit me.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that your impressions are musical in many ways. It's all chop. It goes all back to chop and broccoli.
On the
first show, once I had the she chop. I know. I have no excuse for it except that I think I'm trying to make myself laugh, and then it just makes me laugh. Someone going, "Can I finish one time? Or are you going to interrupt me?"
It's so goofy and cartoony.
One time. But he did say something like that.
Well, it's all making yourself laugh. That's all it is.
It.
If people ask me, what is your favorite, what's your favorite moment from Saturday Night Live?
Wow.
15 seasons you did. And I say that my favorite thing at Saturday night was 3 a.m, rolling on the floor laughing with the writers, with the cast members, and part of, Woody Allen once said that writing comedy is either easy or it's impossible.
Yeah.
When it's easy and it's your friggin' job, is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So this stuff is making you laugh, and and it could be downing on a riff. It could be you coming up with, you and Nealon doing Hans and Franz. It can be Bye-Bye. It can be, and you just are going, like, at that moment of creation that someone's doing something, and it's so funny, but it's the added thing of, we just did our job really well.
Yeah. Sometimes at rewrite table, it could be 4 p.m. or 4 a.m, and if someone cracks the code on something and everyone starts laughing and then everyone riffs on it, that's the funnest time. because everyone's good at the table. So everyone's throwing in something good from right and left. And you go, wow, this has really jumped this sketch way ahead of where it was.
David, I saw David Tell the other day, or a couple months ago, actually, at the Comedy Cellar. And I just said, he was at the table for a year or something. And do you remember the Bobbits? You know, she cut off his penis and that thing. And I was doing a Stewart with, I guess, Myers was the guy, and Rosie O'Donnell was Lorena Bobbitt. And I had a line that I didn't have the punch to. I go, so how did it feel? Or how does it feel now? And Attell's line was, it itches. And boy, when someone does something like that, you know, it's such a gift to have that table. And then sometimes the table is so deadly, like at 3 a.m.
Well, I just remember like a lot of food, like guys around the table and some women, of course, on 17th floor. And I'm thinking it is kind of like nothing's going on. Like it seems like the deadest space in the world. And there's Chinese food or pizza. Everyone's leaning back in their chair, tapping the pencil.
Window is cracked 1 inch because everyone's dying in there.
And you can't believe there's going to be a show. But you told me once out, you told me that I peaked at read-through, you know, and that really helped me going forward. Sometimes you try to get it on so hard in your first year that you literally never get back to it. You've peaked at read-through, and you definitely don't want to peak at dress unless you're at war to get it on air. You want to leave a little something. So that there's a lot of inside baseball about
if
that.
you have an insider with Al, if Al's writing with you and you're at read-through, I think it's a little easier to pull back because he's going to be in the room saying he's going to bring it up. So you at least have a partner.
Well, there were years
helping.
that I was in the room, and I was interesting to hear Downey kind of talk about the most fun he had at the show was when he just was writing and not producing. And it was nice to be able to go in there and express your opinion and on what gets picked for read through and stuff like that. But it also, there's something nice about just being a writer too. And also I was performing every once in a while.
Well, as a cast member, you want to hook up with someone who has Lauren's ear and Lauren trusts, you know, in the room after the read through. That's always a nice thing to do for people who are just beginning cast members. A little tidbit.
Al, we can't go without talking about Stuart Smalley. I remember the Michael Jordan one was probably such a huge home run. That was
a peak on air.
Greatest sketches. Yeah.
That was.
You know, I mean,
killer. Yeah.
Well, and he was, I think he was cracking up or something too much or something in dress. And I just said, just dial it, you know, and he understood it. I mean, so here's a guy, you know, he's a very, remember when Lauren hosted or produced the ESPYs?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember. Maybe you weren't around for that. So he sponsored, produced the ESPYs. And so I was a presenter and I did this joke and it died. And I thought it was a great joke. And this was the year they did the second three-peat, right?
Okay.
The Bulls did.
Bulls.
So I went up there and I just said, and remember, this is a lot of athletes and a lot of people in sports, but I just go like, you know, a lot of people are saying that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player who ever lived. Well, all I can say is, Michael, prove it.
And it just lay there.
It's not the right crowd. Yeah.
They just going, he has proven it. You know, that was their attitude.
Yeah.
They didn't get
Who the fuck is this guy?
I remember that laying an egg so bad. And I went, oh, okay, this is not a comedy crowd.
Jordan at that show running around was such a big deal. That was so much fun.
Was he kind of the biggest guest in that way, Jordan? That when we were there, I think. I mean,
In a way, I mean, I remember that was the first time we were fielding NBA players in the Olympics. And I just said to him, so how do you think you're going to do? And it was like him and Magic. I mean, Bird, it was like ridiculous. And he said, oh, and he was so confident. And of course, they just killed everybody.
Yeah.
And
without even trying, really.
It was, but I just remember the exuding confidence.
And the competitive. He had a moment with me. He goes, do you golf? I go, well, a little bit here and there. I go, but I'm lucky to break 100, And he paused. He looked at me, and he's towering over me. He goes, well, you're not very good, are you?
Well, I thought he was going to say,
let's play. Yeah.
That's unnecessary, Michael.
Well, he's famously
you don't seem
competitive.
very athletic.
Yeah, you don't seem very athletic.
He bets a lot in golf, and he bets like each hole, and he bets because I golf, and I'm not very good either, but it's fun the stories you hear from caddies and these great golf courses where he comes in and sweeps people, and he loves it. He just always looking for some action, which is great. It's a cool thing about him. People love Michael Jordan.
Well, I think athletes just kind of blow our minds. Old movie stars when Robert Mitchum came on, Charlton Heston, or Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky showed me how to hold a hockey stick. Wayne Gretzky got on his knees and laced up my skates and showed me how to do that. So there's cool moments. Yeah, you're like, damn. And the musicians as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for Peyton Manning, but I thought, did you see that show?
I wasn't, but I thought he was hysterical on the show. I saw it.
He was fabulous.
Yeah.
There were a number of these guys who were just really, really good. And
we should get them on.
Some of them were loxes. But they were almost funny being loxes. Do you remember a piece we Tom and I wrote this trying to figure out who was there, which one you were there. It was Joe Montana, and he was
Walter Payton.
But on this one, Joe Montana, who was kind of a lox. Was he
thinking out loud? Thinking out loud. That one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was. It starts off with Phil and Jan, and he's trying to get her to stay the night. And it's that cliche of he says something and then you hear what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says something, and we played it. Tom and I wrote it so that you thought that was the sketch, that we thought that was the comedy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you're watching it, you're going like, this is kind of lame. This is a device that people use a lot. And then his roommate comes, and Phil's going, oh no. And he says, this guy, my roommate is the most honest guy there is. And then at one point he goes, he says, it's nice to meet you. And then his thought is, it's nice to meet her. and then the last line was, I'm going to go upstairs and masturbate. And then I'm going to go upstairs and masturbate was his thought.
Right.
And my God, it was so funny. And it was partly funny because he was a lox.
Well, and he was competitive with himself. I was told that he wouldn't come out of his dressing room. It had to at the end of the show. He thought he didn't do well, that kind of thing. I go, you're a football player. What are you talking about? But I got to play catch with him.
He did fine.
He was funny.
Like no way not to do well as an athlete. Bill Russell did well. Did really well. I
did a roast with Peyton, and I didn't see his SNL, but I thought it'd be fun to have Peyton in there, and he crushed it. He's crushing. They wrote him jokes, but he delivered them. He was great. He got huge laughs, huge applause. He's got a very light, funny thing about him, and that's why I think he's in all these commercials and does that Manning cast. It all works.
You know what I've discovered in comedy? Some people are funny and some people aren't.
Is that really in all your days? That's what you've come up with?
But do you guys think, like, you were there
There's
at the big...
900 of us, Dana.
That was, one of Lauren's great things. There's only, about funny people, there's only 900 of us on the planet. And it was kind of like the perfect number, right?
Yes.
Since, Al, you were there in 75, I just want to ask you this question. Was anyone cognizant of the idea of taking a football player or a dramatic actor or whatever, and forcing them to become a live sketch player. The reality show aspect of Saturday Night Live that sustains it. Because if you see a football player or a singer trying to do this and they're kind of bad, it's still compelling, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're absolutely, you know, the first one we had was Fran Tarkenton.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
And that was Franny's idea. That was my wife's idea.
Because of the namesake a little bit? Fran Tarkenton and Franny.
And how was it?
He was very good. And it was
Old Vikings quarterback for the audience.
Yeah. This going back a ways. And, you know, he wasn't the greatest who had ever done it, but he was very good. And I remember Belushi for that. We did a cold opening where Belushi's like a coach. We did a lot of football themed thing. And Belushi made me go back to his apartment and read to me Dick Butkus's autobiography. And I had to stay there like all, you know, hours while he read this thing. And he worshipped Dick Butkus, who was a linebacker for everyone for the Bears, Chicago Bears.
I did a TV show with Dick Butkus and
did?
And Bubba Smith called. It was with James Ferrantino, and it was this helicopter cop show. Yeah,
Airwolf was
no, it was an Airwolf. I can't. Blue Thunder. The cop show.
Blue Thunder, yeah.
I played the Daniel
and
Stern part.
What did you play on it?
Well, I take some
played,
Viagra called that.
I played the sidekick in the back of the chopper with a helmet on, Clinton Wonderlove. Just another frustrated observer. Like I wanted to be out.
Clinton Wonderlove, that was your dumb
James
name.
Ferrantino would have a styrofoam cup full of vodka, and he would smash the pages of the script on the thing and yell at the crew. It was like Scarface.
What year was this? I
just took stuff. At 84, I had no confidence that I could be on Saturday Night Live, really. So when people said I luckily got cast in things, I just did them, and they were a complete waste of time. And I got fired. But I got into the outfit, went into the fake chopper. They're going around blowing steam at us. And then they said, Dana, come down the ladder in front of the whole crew. They fired me. And I had to do the perp walk and go just in front of everyone. I go to the wardrobe guy, really nice guy. And I go, I'm a comedian. I'm funny. This is like 84. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, shh, it's okay. It's okay, son. And then he saw me like 8 years later in 93. He goes, you were right. What the fuck? What were you doing in a helicopter? I had a very strange route to SNL. I mean, you saw me once, right, Al? You were in 84. I probably bombed.
I did, and I blew it. I saw you doing stand-up in San Francisco.
I probably wasn't.
Like, that guy is brilliant. But you know what? You weren't ready.
Well, you're
ready a year later.
I would just say confidence until you're kind of famous. It is a wide range of how you'll be on a given night. And if you lose a little bit of confidence, at least for me, I don't know about Dave Chappelle.
You know what? I don't think
Robin Williams, but yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I was the best judge to do this. You know, that year, that was the year we came back from being gone, right? That Lauren came back from being gone.
Yes. 85.
And, you know, we picked Lovitz that year. We got a few good people, but I think there were some people that we missed that were really that ended up being real huge mistakes.
It's always easier after the fact to say, "Oh, why didn't you pick that person?" But you know, when you see them, sometimes it's too raw or too rough, or they haven't developed, and you just. It's an easier miss.
It's better to wait. You know, there are people sometimes they'll put them on when they're not ready. They're 21 or 22 and not ready. But for me to get on with Phil and Jan, freakily do the church chat sketch. Rosie Schuster was the one who was helping me form. I had the character, but the platform. Then all these religious scandals happen. And Al came on, and you did Swagger, right? So throughout that first year,
I did Pat Robertson.
Pat Robertson, and then Phil did Swagger, and then they did Tammy Faye. So I have this church lady character. I get
perfect.
Yeah, and then these scandals start happening, and so, but that was fun. You doing Pat Robertson, like laughing or crying. I remember, but it was a very funny take on Pat Robertson.
My Pat Robertson was just very happy.
Yeah,
that was the key to him. Though. He was just very joyful. There's a woman in Ohio who's just had her diverticulitis cure.
Diverticulitis. Funny word.
Something like that, but he was just happy. He was a happy Christian.
And you started laughing.
That was my take on him.
And then Phil was crying, and then we closed in on a closer or something like that. And you're just like two idiots not talking. Just anyway.
And I heard you maybe it was with Jim about how they censored Church Lady and you just became dirtier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine.
Couldn't say penis, but I could say throbbing bulbous organ, willing
bulbous
and ready.
Mallet.
Yeah, naughty parts, sweating and grinding. Yeah, so that it was pornographic to me. I don't know, but that was
all they cared about was, is someone going to complain?
Yeah,
and they're not. They could complain about penis because it's penis,
right?
But they're not going to complain about throbbing
naughty parts.
Yeah. Do you remember Andrew Brewer, who was our kind of cool censor guy? He wrote us after he wrote into the podcast because we've talked about him. But we always say positive things. He's always in like a tough position. And he'd always go, guys, come on, you can't do this when you're not saying pussy like that. And I'm like, no, what do you mean? We always play dumb. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's right. So, you had that very indistinct
that's right. You remember that? Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I still have it between my legs. No, it was on Weekend Update, and I sort of mumbled the word pussy, and Dennis was like, Spudley, I wouldn't mess this one up. You're gonna be fucking out of here. You're already teetering on a thread. I'm like, what?
Thanks.
And so I said the in and out list. I think the out list was going out after the show, getting out of pussy. Oh yeah, the in was. I was saying you're not. In is not enunciating enough to get caught by the censors, and then the out was going and getting some pussy. And then
it's like
and I walk in the hallway, and Andrew's shaking his head, walking at me, going, "Spade, come here." And I go, "What?" And I know I have no idea what you're going to ask me. And then he goes, "Come on, dude." And I go, but it did pretty good address. So he goes, "Come on, you can't. We got advertisers saying we pull out if he does this." And so I do it, and then Dennis is right next to me going, "I don't know, Spud." And so I do it, and it gets too big of a laugh, and Dennis is like, "It's curtains for you, guy."
Did you want too big a laugh was trouble?
Yeah, because it means you said it to everyone understood it.
Yeah.
And, well. I don't know, but
I got along really well with most of the censors.
Yeah,
Clotworthy, because I know you mentioned him with Jim.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Bill Clotworthy.
He was a nice guy. Yeah,
he was a lovely guy, and
it's a tough job.
He stood by a couple of things I did that were. I did. Do you remember? First, this NBC reporter wrote a book about her having a mastectomy. And it's called First You Cry. And then I did a sketch when we had, it was First He Cries. and it was Gilda, unfortunately, in retrospect, has a mastectomy. And Bill Murray is her husband. And he just goes, it starts feeling really sorry for himself because his wife had
horrible.
The whole point was that it was satirical, which is a guy doesn't do that.
Yeah, right. That is the joke. Yeah,
that was the joke. And so, B. Arthur was her oncologist, and she's basically saying this happens all the time, and the fact that he's got a girlfriend now named Bambi is not, is to be expected. and Clotworthy's wife had a mastectomy, and he just said to me, "I love this sketch."
Wow.
Because he got the satiric point of it. And that was when you just went, oh, and I was really good friends with all the censors because I talked to them all the time.
Yeah.
Because my stuff was, I had to deal with them all the time.
You call down.
Edgy.
All right, Dana, what else you got for Al, this poor guy? We're looking for the ringer.
I don't know.
I'm having fun. So
I know it is fun.
Stuart Smalley, we got to that.
There's too much. I will have one last thing. You didn't write Reagan Mastermind, did you? That was a great.
That was Smeigel's. That was Smeigel's. I kicked in.
Yeah.
But that had a line that Chippendales had, which was, "This is the part of the job I hate." And that was Mike Myers' line when they had to choose between Swayze and Chris, and it's so hard. They're consulting, and Myers goes, "This is the part of the job I hate." So that was one of my favorite lines. I don't think I wrote that in. Downey wrote Chippendales. I had one. My name was on it, but it was because I sat with him while he wrote it. And
that's a good trick.
I had one thing in it, which was the name Barney.
Barney, yeah. Barney and Adrian, right?
Barney and Adrian. Barney.
Yeah, that was Nealon who did that great.
Yeah. Well, Nealon, the greatest attitude player. That was what was great. It was like you just knew Nealon could play attitude. Mm-hmm. Downey and I wrote a piece which was, and then you think about how of the time it was a toothpaste ad, which had Garrett and Victoria, not Garrett, Tim Meadows, I guess, and Victoria Jackson. And they're pitching it for the Country Music Awards, and and Kevin is the guy who is receiving the pitch, and has to say no. We don't want to put, and it ends with this big kiss, right? And this is, I can't remember what year it was, but this was not something you would put on the Country Music Awards. A white woman kissing a black guy on the lips, and it was Nealon trying to say no without saying that.
Right. Saying all the reasons it wouldn't work, but not saying that.
That sounds very much.
I can't remember the lines, but you give him attitude, and it was just. He was a master.
Yeah, maybe
he is. Maybe
we could think of something else to do here at this beat. I don't know.
Well, that's then I ran for the Senate.
You ran for a little birdie told me that you ran for the Senate.
Yeah, and then look, you guys, this idea of doing that, you've had. I love that you're having writers on.
Yeah,
I kind of go by like people in high school or college that are just interested in this or interested in comedy. It's kind of interesting to hear it just straight from people. Their process or how it happened and why, and the whimsy of it all too. Just like where does your inspiration come from, Al?
You once told me, Dana, that no one should become a comedian unless they have to be a comedian.
Pretty much. I think show business in general is an emotionally violent sport.
You said that. I wrote that down. I thought that was interesting.
Well, your feelings get hurt a lot, even if you're doing really
all
well.
Day.
And my touchstone, as corny as it sounds, is like, I'm still making money doing this. And that's pretty cool. I never lost.
Yeah, well, because of you're one of 900 people who can.
Yeah.
I just got an update. There's 911. There's some Bangladeshis were funny, and we had someone from Madagascar who made
some people fall out.
Those people fall. Well, guys, thanks.
Al, thank you, buddy.
You were great. Really interesting and fun. So thanks for coming on, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Well, thank you, guys.
All right, see you, bud.
Senator Al
Take
Franken.
care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, what's up, flies? What's up, fleas? What's up, people that listen? We want to hear from you and your dumb questions.
Questions, ask us anything. Anything you want.
You can email us at flyonthewall@cadence13.com. Hey, we got a question here, Dana, and
right.
To wrap it up, this is we get so many questions that we usually say the listener's name, but when so many ask the same type of question, we're just going to do the question. They've written about Larry Sanders' show and Gary. Any stories about, Well,
Gary Shandling. Gary Shandling, we all knew Gary for a long time in the clubs, great stand-up. And then when he did the Larry Sanders show, he asked me to come on. They were making episodes, but the show was not released yet. So he asked me to come on and be myself, Dana Carvey, guest hosting for Larry Sanders. And we had a scene where he asked me to do an impression of him to him. Because I used to do this gear where you go, what are people doing? I don't know what, the cat food on the carpet, which was an exaggeration of one of his rhythms, and he's the one who wanted me to do it. Here's the interesting part of me guest hosting Larry Sanders. Hervé Villachez, who was a little person, was a guest on the show, but it had never aired. Even though he was told, he thought I was a real talk show host interviewing him, and he never knew that it was a fake talk show. So that was very funny. So I was on one of the very first Larry Sanders. David?
Well, a tidbit. I went to the Comedy Museum. Heather, where was that? It was in Jamestown, New York, and they have the Larry Sanders set there. They have so much. This is actually, I'll give them a shout out. It's a great comedy museum. They have so many things, but they have the set, which threw me back because I did do. I did the third one. Again, like you, I think he was getting people he knew a little bit. He's from Tucson. I'm from Scottsdale. I knew him a little bit. And through Burlstein Gray, I knew him a little bit. I was going to be on his old Gary Shandling show, and we didn't work it out. And this one, he said, why don't you play yourself? It was sort of like you, where he said, why don't you play a comedian? I had like a goofy comedian name. Then he goes, why don't you just do it as yourself? Do you care? We might just do that. They don't want to play themselves. Janine Garofalo interviewed me, and I was a stand-up. It was a funny idea because I was a stand-up, and I was doing his show like on a Friday, and on Monday I do Leno and I do the same set. And then he goes, you can't do the same set here. I go, well, it doesn't matter. They go, no, you have to do all new stuff. I go, no. And so there's a big mess, and then they bump me. Rip Torn goes.
Rip Torn,
He goes, let's bump that fucking Spade and teach him a lesson. Show him how Hollywood works around here. And so they bump me, and then 2 seconds later, Janine Garofalo runs in and goes, Joe Pesci's stuck in Chicago. There's a snowstorm. And Rip Torn looks at Gary. And then you cut to Gary going, making his third appearance, David Spade. And I come out and I open with my same joke, and Rip Torn just shrugs his shoulders. And that was the episode. It was fucking great. I thought it was so funny. I thought Gary was great. I mean, Dana knew him better in the real life, but
he blessed my house. I bought a house in Encino, my wife and I, and he wanted to come go through it for spirits and stuff.
Oh, really?
So we stood outside and waited, and Gary was in there for like 20 minutes. He came out and he goes, it's clean.
That's his side hustle?
But I would say that Gary, as funny as they come in the show, he was a little bit conflicted for a while. He was up for taking over for Johnny, which Jay Leno did. And then he does this show, and I've had young people email me and stuff. This Larry Sanders show is pretty brilliant. So it broke everything. It broke The Office. He really influenced so many people with that, whatever you call that style. I'd never been on a show like that. They had 3 16-millimeter cameras, and you're doing a take. Every take is done. There's the single shots and the 2-shot. Yeah. And he also in between you go, just say something like that, and I'll say something like this, and really give it to me this time. And then he would do it. So it was incredibly good for comedians, because who wants to repeat the same line?
Sort of like pre-Curb, when I did Curb, they say, just get angrier on this take. It wasn't even about lines. Just here's your attitude in this. And then they go whisper to Larry, here's his attitude. I don't know what his is going to be. So I think He started in the modern era. I mean, there were other people. He did It's the Gary Shandling Show. He broke the fourth wall, but he kind of lit the match for this modern type comedy. So thank you,
God
people.
rest his soul, and thanks for the question.
Hey, guys, I'm introducing Kevin Nealon, one of my all-time favorites. I won't be doing it with Dana. He's in traffic, and so I hurry and rushed and did it by myself, because then I get to be me. Sometimes when I send an email, I put subject, me. Sometimes I don't. It's going to be a strug without Dana. You're going to have to strug through, folks. Strug it up. Kevin Nealon. By the way, Kevin Nealon has a book out. Kevin, he does caricatures, is that fair to say? Cartoons. He's great at it. I don't know if he's done the Spade Man, but he's done a bunch, and I see him on his Instagram. But the book is called I Exaggerate My Brushes with Fame. Classic Kevin Nealon. Very clever title. He paints or something, in the brush. Do you get it? Oh, my God. I'm not going to walk you through all of them. Okay. By the way, I saw Miles Teller the other night. I was at undisclosed Hollywood hotspot. And I said, if you ever host SNL, you should have them all lined up in the monologue, the whole cast, and just name them all. Sponge bath, popcorn, camel toe. Who'd fucking kill? If you want to kill. Do you want to bomb? Do something else. And then you could add this noise when the plane flies over. If you want. Call that, I'll call it in. Anyway, Kevin is great with his jokes because you know what he does? He doesn't put any spin on them. He puts nothing. And I loved it because I used to do stand-up. When I started, I was at the Improv, and it's his name on the chalkboard. I always say this. But it was like Paul Reiser, Jay Leno, Jerry Seinfeld, Jeff Altman, like all these great comics. And I got to bring them up. They made me be an MC for a while. So I'd have to go and go, what do you want me to say about you? And I go, just say I've been on Merv Griffin, Carson, and, you know, Mike Douglas. These are old shows. And I'd go, okay, whatever they are. Open for Joanne Worley and Phyllis Dill. You know, it was like back in the day. So, but Nealon was always one of the ones I'd watch, and I go, God, he does not put any spin on it. Driest stuff, the most throwaway jokes. And I was sort of patterning after that. Like I was sort of a research paper of Dennis Miller and all the comics I like. And then I kind of went into my own thing. But at the beginning, you have to like people. And, you know, but I also like Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy. So, you know, you just never know. But Kevin is great. He was great to talk to, as advertised. I was repeating a bunch of his jokes to him, which I always do. And I think you'll like it. Here he is, Kevin Nealon. I have a question for you, but I got to wait for Dana, they said. Okay, they're all dumb, though.
How's it been going?
Oh, this is going through the roof, buddy.
Awesome, man.
I think. I don't know.
Hey, I love your red... it's an audio podcast. Sorry. Well,
I've been losing more stuff on the road. You know, like I leave it on airplane pockets and stuff. I had like the little ones, but they're kind of gone now, along with my Apple Pencil, my iPad Pencil.
You know, I was on a flight this week, and in the seat back in front of me, it said, this whole, you know, placket about the safety briefing has been scrubbed down with antibacterial stuff. It's stamped on it. I go, I don't believe it. I was skeptical.
Yeah.
Because they never even touched it after that. And I was like, I touched it.
I don't believe the life preservers work either, you know, or the oxygen masks.
Well, I have such a terrible fear of flying. When they come around and we get to a comfortable cruising altitude and they go, well, would you like a beverage? So inside I'm screaming for a beer because my pulse is like 160.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I don't know. What do you got? I'll have grapefruit juice. No, I guess I'll have a Heineken.
Oh, you dance around it a little bit?
Well, my wife, she has no fear of flying. So she orders coffee and a Heineken. And then I order a Heineken. And then I have two. And then I put them on her tray. And I kind of shrug to the flight attendant like, I don't know. She's got an issue.
You beat the system.
One time I was joking around.
I'm on the ground. I don't drink. Yeah, go ahead.
One time I was joking around with a flight attendant. It was like a 7 a.m. flight. She goes, can I get you something to drink? I said, yeah, I'll have a scotch on the rocks. And it was like ordering orange juice. He goes, okay, want that on the rocks. Okay, well, would you like something, sir? You know, because a lot of people drink when they're flying.
because of fear in flying. This famous actress flew next to me once. Guess who?
Is it Sophia Loren?
No, it predates her. But anyway, this actress was really cool because they came around with these vodka lemon drinks on this flight. And she goes, I'll do it twice as opposed to give me two of them. And she kept saying, I'm going to sleep later, so I'll do it twice. So that's what I say to my wife. Ladies and gentlemen, the comedy never. Why is anyone...
Listen, Dana, my airplane bits, I think I did on my first Tonight Show. Airplane bits are a real staple of comedians, I feel. And I think we all have some. And I remember the one that I can't do anymore, because it's old, even though Seinfeld said you should still do old jokes. But I said, when you're in first class and then you're in coach and you're a loser in coach, so the lady will walk out of first class and look at you. Then she looks back and shuts the little curtain so you can't even see the people in first class. She's like, it's a good sound too. And then she she snaps it shut, and then she comes back later with the tire gun and goes, "Brum, brum." I go, I'm not looking. I'm not.
I remember this one. I like the effects.
I know what that curtain close looks like from First Class, but not from Coach.
Oh, you look back and you go, can you get one more snap?
You know who was on my flight 2 weeks ago? John Hamm.
Oh.
John Hamm.
I didn't say anything to him because I didn't want to have to walk back to Coach. You know what I mean?
So rude.
What? Can I do my impression of John Hamm?
Yeah.
I don't even know you.
What's that from? Bridesmaids?
I can't. I don't even know you. It's him on. It's someone asking him a favor on Mad Men. I don't even.
Oh,
know
you know, I see.
So I can't hear myself.
Dana, I've seen memes where, because I'm representing the younger generation here. I've seen memes where, because I'm tragically still on Instagram, but they show John Hamm in an elevator or something, and someone says something to him, and then they put a picture of John Hamm going, "I don't even know you." So it must be a famous line from the show.
It also makes you do the impression. Kevin, what's your famous for you airplane bit? Do you have one?
Oh, yeah. It's I was flying the other day, and I think the pilot was a little inexperienced.
It's already fun.
I like this.
We were getting ready to take off. He goes, "Folks, we'll be taking off in a few minutes." Whoa, here we go.
Oh, yeah, well, I love that he's a little inexperienced. So I was kind of nervous.
And then we were up in the air for like 20 minutes, and he comes back on the PA. He goes, "Folks, I can't seem to figure out where." Oh, never mind, I got it.
Oh, here's a good one. I go, we land. I go, "Why are you allowed to land anywhere near the actual airport? We're taxiing around and going." I'm like, "Hey, I saw some lights over there." "Oh, we're going this way." And then I go, "All right." And then we got to the gate, and we're not even allowed to park at the gate. And then so we're just then we start following this pilot. He's walking to a plane because I see him holding his keys, but then he's just getting something out of his plane, so we can't park there. It's sort of. I think that was it. It was better. I guess
I was in an emergency landing once, and
I've had many of them.
I discovered that the overhead luggage compartments are not emergency exits.
You just crawled up there. I did one that we'll probably have to cut this out, but I was playing Spellbinders in Houston in the 80s. I didn't go on the road that much, but Bill Hicks, who's a famous comedian who passed away, was my opener. So he would dare me to do a hacky opening. So I don't know if it was my joke, and I couldn't do it today. It'll be canceled. But it was like I'd go up and I'd go, "Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I flew here on Mexicana Airlines. It was a great airline. The pilot had dice hanging in the cockpit." And he just thought that was the greatest thing ever. That guy would go on stage with a sport coat for like 20 minutes. He had a big sport coat on. He's doing all his jokes. And then he would reach in and pull out an ice cold Budweiser beer. He kept it in his jacket like a magician for 20 minutes for that one joke. Anyway.
One time he tried to drink a Dove. He pulled out by mistake.
Oh, I had that with what was he? The Great Scott at Comedy Magic Club. The birds, he'd get them and they come out of his jacket. You know where they were coming from. And he went out and it was dead. It was like,
I thought they were made of paper.
That's your showstopper, ladies and gentlemen.
Rubber.
Hey, no, but Kevin, you'll like this story, I think, because we're comedians. But I was telling somebody last night that one of my buddies was a waiter at the Dallas Improv. Remember the Dallas Improv? I loved the old one in Dallas off Central and Walnut, I think. And it was right next to Kroger's. And so a comedian came in, and he was there in the day, but setting up. And the comedian, the headliner, it's kind of jerky. I don't even know who it was for real. But he came in, he starts bossing everyone around, getting the keys to the condo, and asking him this and that, and sort of being pushy. So the waiters realized they didn't like him. And then he came back in for the show, and he goes to my buddy, "Hey, come here." And he goes, because this is, some people that listen to this know comedy, you have to adapt to a city. So he goes, "What's the big store around here? Is it Alpha Beta?" He goes, "No, it's Kroger's. That's the one around the corner." And he goes, yeah, okay. "And you guys have a Circle K?" He goes, "No, we have 7-Eleven." He goes, "Yeah, okay." He's working his act out. And then he goes, "And what's this big, huge street right in front of here with all the traffic?" He goes, "Oh, that's Apollo Boulevard," which was a lie. And so the guy gets up and he starts killing, and then he goes, and that was crazy. I couldn't even get here because of Apollo Boulevard. He just comes to a complete screeching halt. And then he goes, Apollo over here. And someone goes, Central Expressway. He goes, no, Apollo. He's arguing with him. And then he just keeps digging a deeper hole, and he comes to my friend later. He's like, you fucking dick. And he's like, he goes, oh yeah, you know what? I said it wrong. That is Central Expressway.
Mike Myers and I were playing Green Bay, Wisconsin, I think. So we can't, they said, oh, they love it if you say cheeseheads. So we went up there. I don't know if we're doing Wayne and Garth or whatever. Like cheeseheads. I swear there was almost a riot. That is like a slur. That is cheesehead. We kept doing it. Mike's like, I don't know what's going on, man. Anyway, we should introduce our guest today, Kevin Nealon.
Kevin Nealon.
Saturday Night Live All-Star, Weeds. How many times he's been on The Tonight Show, Letterman. How many specials? Three stand-up specials? 4? Two, but working on a third.
2, but all good material.
Yeah.
I didn't space it out like a lot of comics.
You know, Seinfeld says every comedian, even the good ones, have about an hour 20 of good material, even if they do 10 specials. He goes,
you're quoting Seinfeld a lot.
I know, you know what? That's the only second time. That's it. But
he's the Pope.
Because
there's more to come.
Yeah. That's
he
every
has
quarter.
The rules of how you're supposed to stand up. You can obey him or not, but he has definite rules of how.
What does Seinfeld say about Jesus?
He does.
Jesus, I don't do religion, then half the people hate you.
You know, I think this is a big compliment. Kevin, some of the top comedians will talk and say Kevin is one of the tallest comedians. That has to mean something to you.
It's really a compliment, because there's rumors out there that I'm not that tall. So when somebody validates that for me, it really, and it's weird too, because I have a fear of heights. So every day I live in fear,
Kevin, I was saying the other day that if you're ever around a vulture, don't play dead, because that's what they want.
That's right.
That's right.
It's one of Nealon's old bits. Not even a bit. Really? It's more of a line. Yeah, that's yours.
I didn't know that was mine.
Oh, for real? It's funny.
Yeah.
Let's go back and say, before we get to SNL, when Kevin Nealon, I used to watch, and when I started and I was at the Improv, which was a big deal. I was doing hosting, which is a hard job. And I would host and have to bring every comic up from 8 to 1 a.m. And I'd end in the hallway and I go, what do you want me to say about you? And so I'd kind of know comics, acquaintances, because they'd say, oh, you're the MC, blah, blah, blah. But Nealon was on the chalkboard. Carvey wasn't there as much, but I was pretty influenced by a little peppering of Nealon, a little Carvey, a little Dennis Miller. And when you're starting out, you start to see all these great comics right in front of you. You don't have to wait a week or 3 to see them on Carson or something. So I got influenced, but you guys were all great. And then something happened. Remember, Nealon, when I got kicked out of John Mulrooney's place because his roommate, who actually passed away, God, that comic was great. And then you said, oh, why don't you rent my room while you got SNL? Remember that whole thing?
Yeah. You rented my room?
And Alciona.
On Alciona.
Yeah, so it was me, you, Bob Duback, Dana above the garage, and Joe,
my wife and
the writer.
Joe Kenny.
We lived above the garage. It was like a little mini compound, not fancy at all. I got hassled by the Postal Service there. That's a whole nother story. But my wife and I were saving her salary, which was $29,000 a year, working for a state assemblyman, so we could save up and buy a house. So it was $300 a month, and it was just a room with a sink. We had a hot plate. I come up back after a gig and just watch TV with headphones on, and she would sleep. And Kevin was rented it to us, or Kevin invited us to live there.
But Bob was like the ringleader of the place. I was just a renter. I had that little bedroom on the end there. But I went back there about a year ago with my wife and son to just see what it looked like. And the owners were there, and they had filled in the driveway with a yard and a swing set.
What?
And a little wall that goes across the front. You could park a little bit in there, but it doesn't have that big parking lot.
Yeah, there's a big
I told him we used to live there. And in fact, the guy's wife, Dana, did your costume for the commercial you guys did, or wardrobe for the
Wayne and Garth
for the Wayne and Garth for the Super Bowl commercial.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. So she knew you. But they gave me a tour of the place. I went inside and they had changed it around a little bit. I saw where your apartment was, which is their office now. And there's like a downstairs, nobody lives downstairs. They have a staircase in a living room that goes down to the lower apartment.
Wait, it was all one story, right? Like your bedroom was close to Alciona.
There was a couple that lived downstairs with their baby.
Downstairs? I don't even remember that. I don't think I was allowed. Noises. No, I wasn't allowed but Nealon was very nice because when he come back I had just done like Police Academy. I was pretty new. And when you guys would come home, that was really exciting because you had war stories and you would say hi to me. And Nealon, you would stay on the couch. You wouldn't even kick me out of the room because you thought that was unfair.
Why don't I remember any of this stuff?
I know, because I was forgettable, and I've been told that by my parents, especially my dad.
But I do remember that when you got on SNL, I lost my subletter. So you really kind of screwed me over there.
Oh, yeah, that is true. And so I had to
tell the story.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, but we're all three interacted in this mid '80s thing, and we all eventually ended up on SNL. But when I met David, I never had been on SNL. When I met Kevin, he'd never been on SNL. I got on SNL by a long story for another time. But then freakily, they had one last slot they were trying to cast in New York, and this is true. It sounds funny at the time, but they mentioned Chevy or somehow. I don't know if they were serious, but he was somebody tall or something. So I thought, well, I know someone tall. And then through whatever machinations, Bruce and Gray or whatever, Kevin came out to the studio. And I think, so now Kevin's auditioning, but the show had been cast. But I think we were in 8H. And didn't you just sort of stand near us? You're like 8 or 10 people do stand up, or
yeah, it wasn't a typical audition, I don't think.
Yeah.
I went there and I immediately got tired when I walked into that studio because I used to fall asleep watching that show, and it was an association thing.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
So Dana and I used to do characters at our house on Alciona Drive in the Hollywood Hills. We would stand out in the driveway and just kind of riff on different, like a couple of different characters. And I didn't do any characters or accents or impressions. I was just a stand-up, a really good stand-up.
Yes.
It's true. I'll show you. You'll see.
Oh, no. I want to make I'd like to make an observation. The thing about your style of stand-up, which really lent itself to this high-pressure situation, was you never know when you've started. Like you're suddenly kind of talking and there's no presentation or like, now here's my joke. You just start doing that sly kind of, you always gotta keep pace with life, whatever. And then, so you essentially killed, but go ahead.
So so I go to studio at H, and typically they have you on the center stage, I guess. And you have to do like 3 characters and 3 accents or something. I don't know what it is, but there wasn't that demand when I went there. And I just I did the characters we worked on, I think it was a couple of Sammys, and it was like the 2 guys, the 2 porn stars talking about very casual stuff.
Were some of them a little undercooked?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, they never got fully baked. They were very undercooked.
They're just like, here's a wispy idea that I'm fucking just throwing shit out to hope something
That's what I was doing.
Yeah,
that's what I was doing. And
they look for a nugget of a thought. I think Downing, those guys and Lauren, they go, I like that weird idea, even if it's undercooked and it's not quite fully formed and written out well. We got great writers here. You give us that idea, we throw it on the table. I bet we could come up with something. So that's what I learned they like. But go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
My memory tells me that I was standing at the end of the bleachers or something, and I was on the floor, and everybody like Dennis Miller, you, John Lovitz, Nora Dunn, Lauren,
Phil. Yeah.
Marcy, Phil. Oh, I don't know if Phil was there, but anyway, you guys were all on the bleachers watching me. And I did my thing, it was very short. And then I left.
You know what's funny? Oh yeah, his act is so dry that it's almost, I think I took a page out of that, because if it doesn't work, you're almost like it wasn't supposed to work. I'm just talking. I was just talking, and now I'm leaving.
I'm out there screaming, desperate, trying to get laughs. And if I swing and a miss, it's over. But Kevin, I want to know the timeline from when you first heard in California, hey, they might be interested in SNL. Can you fly to New York? You do your thing. Is that like a week later, and then do you find out the next day, or how soon after?
It was
you did
very
that?
quick. It was very quick. I remember that. It was like a weekend. Like on Friday, I think they told me I have it. I'm coming to New York. I didn't have the chance really to tell my friends that I was on SNL. I just packed up. I got Spade to rent my room, and I went to New York.
Did you stay at the Omni Berkshire?
I think so, or the Essex House. I don't even remember. Like, I didn't even know New York that well. And Al Franken said you got to find a good neighborhood to live in. And I think, isn't New York a neighborhood? I didn't know there were separate neighborhoods. You got to find a place that's close to a subway and something with the grocery stores. Like the Upper West Side or whatever.
Yeah.
So Dana and I actually, after a couple of years in, we lived in the same apartment building on Broadway.
At the Bromley?
Yeah.
Bromley is very, very nice.
I think Mikey Myers stayed at the Bromley, and then Farley moved into the Bromley.
Huh. Well, there was a movie theater right underneath it, which was kind of cool. And it was close to the park, and it wasn't too expensive.
Across from Zabar's and H&H Bagels, not far away.
Yeah, and
everyone lived Upper West that I knew. Andy and Katie, my relatives, lived up there, and then slowly, I'm not jumping ahead, but slowly people trickled to the village, and I didn't because I only knew my little haunts. And by the time it was over, I didn't know anybody up there because you guys.
Yeah, I moved to the West Village, and it was a beautiful federal style home, I think they call it. Like a brownstone, and we had the top 2 floors. Dana, did you ever come over there?
I don't think so. I was.
It had 4 fireplaces, high ceilings, and it was just really cool. And it was right next to the meat market district, which is now like the hip place. But back then it was really the meat market. And at night when I come home from SNL, I'd see these like rave clubs where there'd be these transgenders out front, waiting to go in, like 3 a.m. And but now it's like totally gentrified and it's beautiful.
So so then maybe a week or 2 later, you're premiering on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah. Well, are you at the beginning of a season, or are you at the?
I'm at the beginning of 86.
The first show. Yeah. October.
The first
host.
It was Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, good.
Yes. Sigourney Weaver.
I remember
was the
at
host.
the end of that week when she was saying the good nights, I was so jealous because she got to go. She got to leave, and I had it kind of like she was like a prisoner getting released. And I had to stay.
just because of how did you handle the nerves? Because
it was so intense.
Yeah, it's just crazy, right?
Well, you know what I pretended? Because the year before that, the ratings were so low and they almost pulled the plug. In fact, we all lived out of our suitcases every day. We didn't know if the show was going to get canceled. So that's what I kept in mind. I thought, nobody's watching this show. Otherwise, my nerves would have killed me. And I thought, I'm used to playing in front of 300 people, which is about how many are in that studio. And then I remember I was still nervous, though. And we're away from a commercial. And my first sketch was Mr. Subliminal, which is kind of like 2 conversations at once,
Oh, wow. That was on the first show you got to do that?
Yeah. So 10 seconds before the sketch is supposed to start, we're away at a commercial and we're coming back from the commercial. Lauren comes up to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says to me, "Are you sure this is what you want?"
What?
That's his way to relax you, I suppose. Yeah. But he would say those funny things. So give us 10 seconds of Mr. Subliminal so people know what we're talking about.
Well, Mr. Subliminal is the guy who kind of inserts these words into a sentence to get what he wants. Like if I go to a deli or something, I say, I think I'll have the corned beef sandwich, your treat. Now, maybe, why don't you throw in a Diet Coke too, whiskey, and that'll be good for me,
So he manipulates his way through life with subliminal messages. Yeah. And his name is Mr. Subliminal. Yeah, I love it.
First show, you got a good one on.
Yeah, I got a good one, and I started getting recognized right away.
That's the funnest part. I mean, it takes a while to get famous, and then you just stay famous. But it takes longer. Back then, SNL, there was probably SNL and maybe HBO. There wasn't a ton of choices. I mean, there was 3 networks or 4 networks maybe.
And cable was very new.
Cable's new, yeah.
So it wasn't so overriding, and you would get recognized. There was a water cooler effect to it, and Kevin and I, we had a small cast, so everyone got involved pretty quickly. You're on 2 or 3 things a show.
Was Jan that year? You met Jan on the show? I love Jan Hooks. She was
Jan
so
Hooks
fucking
and
funny.
Phil Hartman and Kevin and I came in, and then Lovitz and Dennis Nora Dunn, and Whitney Brown were there.
Wait,
I think
so
that was
Dana,
it.
you hadn't
And then
started
Victoria
yet?
Jackson.
So you were
Kevin and I. My first show was
Lauren.
Kevin's first show. I was living with Lauren in Long Island, but then I got a place in Manhattan, and my first show was Kevin's first show. But I've been there since August, hanging out.
I was about to say you actually had some influence. You haven't even started yet.
I was with Lauren for a month. I didn't know he used to come out, and initially it was just me. I was the only one out there, and then Chevy
How
Chase.
Scary that you would go stay with Lauren and see McCartney and these guys.
McCartney, hanging out every night with McCartney. We all got to know
Paul McCartney.
The Paul. Well, Lauren does one of it. He knows there's Paul Simon and Paul McCartney. So he said, Paul's coming over tonight. And you have to ask Paul who. That would be McCartney. And I'd never even been on
Paula
television.
Dean. Yeah.
One time we were all having lunch.
Stone.
We were all having lunch. I think it was Central Cafe in New York. It was me, Steve Martin, Lauren, and maybe Billy Joel was there too. And Steve was talking about Cher. Lauren was talking about Cher. And Steve piped in. He goes, Cher who?
Steve for having those big jokes like in his old albums, which I used to memorize, and those crazy things. He would also say the driest shit like that too. It's so funny.
Oh,
yeah. But that was Lauren. Everybody does impressions of Lauren too. You know, every cast member would do
so great
through the generations. But the other thing about us being on when it was a small cast, and then it started getting bigger and bigger. Like our introductions only lasted maybe 2 minutes, and now if you watch it, there's like 50 people on the show. Even
and then one sketch
featuring so and so, and then somebody who might be on. He's standing by. We'll see. So and so,
and a contest winner.
Yeah,
I think Kevin and I were on the last small cast show, and then it grew with Mike Myers, and then David and Adam and everybody else. But initially, I think it was just like 6 of it. I was kind of like 3 or 4.
Well, what happened was we kind of ran out of tricks, and Lauren kind of saw the writing on the wall. He goes, we got to get some more energy in here, some more people with some ideas.
It was like COVID that was expanding, and we were like the Delta coming in. It was just getting bigger and bigger.
I came in hard and fast with the lady, but I had the benefit of having Phil and the lady and Phil and Jan were on it, and the host would be on it. Sean Penn beat me up and stuff. But the only time it was very conscious with Kevin and I doing a tour with Dennis was our eventual Hans and Franz characters.
It was great. You did the Swatch tour.
That's right.
Yes.
It was the Swatch tour.
I was so jealous. I heard you guys were making $6,000 a night. I was shitting. I was like, no fucking way.
It was $5,000 a night. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, I feel better. But
yeah. So
I went and saw it in Arizona, and it was like so huge for comedians. They were like 3 great comedians are coming to town. It was unreal. And you don't have to do that long. I probably do a half each or something.
I remember we were in Denver. It was our last, I think, stop on the tour. And John Travolta came with some mutual friends of mine. Yeah. And he offered us all a ride back to LA. He was piloting his jet.
Whoa.
And I jumped on it. I said, yeah, I'll go. But you and Dennis, Dana, were fearful flyers. So you said no.
I was a huge Welcome Back Kotter fan, but I couldn't imagine that guy steering. But I've been tapped out. I've been tapped out a few times in my life. Impressionists get tapped out. So I was doing Travolta that night, a really silly, stupid bit, whatever, all these guys like this and that. And the crowd starts really starting to roar. Obviously, he's sneaking up behind me. And I'm really, because, I can't.
Oh, my God.
And then he taps me on the shoulder. And then he says, I think it's the sincerest form of flattery.
How great.
I tell people, because they always ask, who was the best this, and this? I would say Travolta was the most accessible, real superstar I've ever met. Like instantly liking him, and he was just very affable. Didn't you find, Kevin? I mean, it's just this no sense he was a superstar at all. Nothing.
He just loves being in the business and acting. And when he was hosting that week, he really befriended Jan and gave her a nice long leather brown jacket for her birthday. And one night we all went over to Jan's apartment. It was me and Johnny and our mutual friends, Linda and Anson.
Johnny.
And we get to Jan's
Travolta.
apartment. And we were each doing our impression of his character from Grease, like that one scene where he leans against the wall, you know, and he leans against the wall and turns around with a cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Hilarious.
We were all doing that impression. And then John went last and he nailed it. I mean, he won the competition.
How fucking cool.
Yeah.
He was the best at doing it. That's amazing.
Yeah, crazy, man. He must have been practicing, but that's what he's like. You know, he'll do that stuff.
I was only on the show a little bit when I met him, and about 3 years later, I was at Sushi 101 on Beverly, and I was eating, and he came in with a hat and he's ordering to-go stuff. And I'm like, this motherfucker looked like John Travolta. And then he turns around and looks, and then he keeps ordering, gets his bag, and turns on and he goes, hey, it's John. What's up? Remember me? I was on SNL with you. I go, I remember you. Yeah. I saw Grease 45 times.
Yeah.
And then Saturday Night Fever. And right around the same time, bam, bam.
Urban Cowboy.
Monster. Urban Cowboy.
That same week he was hosting, we all went to the Palms restaurant on the Lower East Side, and we're walking.
Jeez, give him some breathing room. Go ahead.
You're stalking.
That was his idea. It was his idea. We were walking up 3rd Avenue, and this is like in 1994 or 95, way after Welcome Back, Kotter. Mm-hmm. And there's this homeless guy sitting on the sidewalk, and he's looking down. And as we're approaching, he goes, hey, you guys got any spare? And he looks up and he sees Travolta. He goes, Anthony Paparino. That was the last time that guy probably watched TV.
Dude, how funny was that fucking Tarantino's Welcome Back, Kotter? How funny was that sketch? That was a great one.
Well, Kevin, you remember that John Travolta came to Saturday Night Live just to be a fly on the wall, to hang out and learn the show. And that's when I met him. And then he hosted later, but I think I'd left by then. So I missed that part. But yeah, he just was hanging out.
I missed the one where, the Tarantino one?
Yeah.
Where it was, oh my God, I got to be Horseshack. Mr. Kotter.
You know who I missed by a couple of seconds was when George Harrison came and stopped by the writers' room.
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah, he came in.
Is that when he played the piano?
Yeah, he was playing the piano. It was next to Al Franken's office. And Al Franken didn't know it was George Harrison. And he was yelling from his office, keep it quiet. I'm trying to write.
That's all. Poor Al. I'm just trying to write a song, for Paul.
Shut up. Then he flipped in the writer's room, remember he flipped the table, he's mad, and he smashed his toe. Oh, he might have been gone.
He was arrested. Al is like stocky, and he was a wrestler.
Not George Harrison.
One night, him and Farley, sorry, I was spaced out. Him and Farley went at it like hardcore, fighting each other.
To wrestle, yeah.
But for playful fun, but it was intense, those two guys.
Yeah, Franken was always
super competitive.
Franken was always kind of exploring. He wanted to be a part of your history. Like I was a football player, so he wanted to play football. We played basketball. Right. He wanted to wrestle with Farley. That was the thing about Farley too. Farley was really, even as heavy as he was so light on his feet, and he was a good basketball player and really coordinated. You saw him skating in the rink,
Well, that's what made
shockingly
him so funny.
Light on his feet, yeah. That Nancy Kerrigan sketch, I don't know if you guys remember that one, was the whole show wasn't that great, but he was doing the ice skating one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. Wisconsin
skater. Look at him on the down by the river thing. Just, anyway.
Hey, Dana, who was your biggest idol on that show that you got to meet? I'll tell you who it was.
Okay.
It was Neil Young.
I had to be Neil Young, but Paul McCartney I met before the show, so it doesn't really count in real life. Right. But meeting Neil Young was quite a thrill. And one night, I don't know if you were there, Kevin, we went out to dinner like with 6 or 8 people with Neil, and I was with Phil, and I said, Phil, let's make Neil Young helpless with laughter. Let's see if we can really get him. So we're doing every shtick we can, every accent, just going crazy just to get him helpless, and we did, just to pay him back. Fun story, right, kids?
That is good. That is good. I like that.
You meet people, when you're on Saturday Night Live, you just meet famous people doing sketch comedy, so they're especially vulnerable, and they're looking to you for advice after the first couple seasons. It's interesting, isn't it? Do you ever help people out?
I find that anybody who's ever hosted, no matter how long ago it was, they're still your best buddy because they latch onto you because they're so scared on that show. They latch onto you and they're friends forever.
Yes.
Yeah, you skip a few levels of casual friendship and you get in there because you're in the trenches so fast and you're explaining cue cards or you're saying this or you tell them when to get, if you start crying on Friday night, that's normal. Don't freak out. Because it's so overwhelming to go, we haven't even rehearsed half this shit and it's tomorrow. And I don't even know what's going on. And they start, my clothes are made of Velcro.
Yeah.
Remember Robert Mitchum?
Robert Mitchum.
Robert Mitchum came in, the famous movie star. Yeah. And he had a gigantic thing of Jack Daniels in his room, but he was incredible on the show. Just you meet so many eclectic people.
I remember he stopped one of the sketches right in the middle during the table read, and he was explaining what hoodlums, where that word came from, and it broke the whole pacing of the sketch.
Oh yeah.
Hey Neil, were you a bartender? Were you a bartender in the Improv?
I worked as a bartender for 2 years at the Improv. I was 25, 26.
At the Improv on Melrose?
Yeah. And then Eddie, who's the bartender now, took over for me. And that was really? 30 years ago. He's still bartending. People love him.
I told Eddie, I said, you're like a friend to me. So you know what? I'm just going to order all my drinks and then I'll tip you at the end. But I meant the end when he quits.
When he dies.
Yeah. So I said at the very end.
He can't quit now.
I saw online, Neil was a bartender and they said, here's a trivia question. What was Kevin's joke about bartending? And so I tried to guess. And they wrote a joke kind of to sound like you and used the real answer, which is probably a lie, was I just try to put as much alcohol in as possible. And the other answers were, I just try to get the color right of the drink. And the other one was kind of funny. He said, I just tell them to tip me up front. That sounds like a joke. I guess that one. That sounds like a joke you'd say.
Which one was it, Kevin? Well,
the truth is, it wasn't even a joke. It's just that I never bartended before, so I didn't know how to make drinks. I had the bartender guide below the bar. If somebody ordered like a 707, I'd flip through the pages and find out how to make it. But I had that college mentality where I thought the more alcohol in the drink, the better they'll like it. So often people would come back with their drink and say, could you put a little more club soda in here? I said, really, this is too strong. I said, okay, all right, I'm just trying to help you out.
Kevin, I have another thing. Is this your joke? I always know your jokes. But when you say...
You remember my jokes from the 80s. When you used to remember your jokes.
And I swear, I've seen a million comics. I don't know why yours I remember. But they're all funny. But when you say you had a lobster, you were cooking a lobster, and then you went to cook it, and you said, tell me if I get this right. You go, I went to put it in the pot, but then I looked at it, had a little face. I go, you know what? This is an animal, and it does not deserve to die. So you know what I did? I got my car, I took it out to the woods, I let it go. Because you got to do the right thing sometimes.
Because you got to do the right joke. That's Kevin.
That's a good paraphrase of it. Yeah. I always thought it'd be funny to have a show where the comic's girlfriend or wife does their act. And they don't get it quite right, but they kind of paraphrase it,
All my friends go, I could do your act. I go, it's so intricate and complicated. I dare you. And then they do it exactly. I go, oh.
Well, the trajectory, the evolution of the wife/girlfriend is initially she's kind of pretty much in the front row watching your act. Then she's midway back. Then she's standing in the back. Then she's in the green. Then she's in the green room during your act. And then she'll meet you after. And finally, she's just at home where you've been.
She stays home. Yeah. Going, how was it?
Did you guys like going to the after parties on Saturday Night Live?
God, you're so wired. I was never really in it enough to be wired, but I would get energy from doing the good nights and waving good night. So, and then do you remember this? Marcy was always scared because too many people would figure out the party. So you'd get a little
Klein
ticket.
Was Lauren's assistant.
Yeah. You get a ticket. She'd walk by and hand you a ticket like right before air or something. Like that's what you were thinking about, but I was. And then they go, hey, the party's going to be here. It's going to be here. It's me. And so you'd have this, and then after the show, you'd get a limo. That guy Max would be out there and go, Spade, you want to go with Farley? You want to go with Timmy Meadows? and they try to double us up because we weren't the big stars, but you guys would get your own limo and it'd get you to the party, and then they would get you home. And then the party was always so late. I think it's a big status thing now, but man, to wait, if you're not on the show, to sit there and wait till 1 to go to the party, which is more like 1:30, that's a late night.
I would opt not to go to the after party because I was so exhausted from the show, and I wanted to be able to get up in the morning on Sunday and enjoy my one day off. But I always had guests coming in that they wanted to go to the after party.
Oh, they have to. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
It's not even really a party. It's just everybody's at the same restaurant. You get your own table. You get your own bill.
Food, yeah.
You know, the
you get a bill.
For it. Yeah, you pay for all your guests and your friends. And and then, you know, everyone's at their own table and there's just a lot of gawkers.
And you'd walk around and the host would like to say hello to you. But Kevin, I don't know if I'm right about this, but the show was so in the doldrums when we got on. Cars were not provided to go to the party. So you, me, and Dennis would be out. It'd be like snowing, and we'd be trying to get a cab to go to the party. I don't know when cars came in, but we did not have cars, at least in those first few shows.
I love it.
We only had an 8-show pickup. Dynamite told us we had 8 shows. So if we don't hit the ground running, we're out here by Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, we were living out of our cars. And we even shared an office together, you and me.
Kevin and I shared an office that was very humble, very small, and we would sit in there for hours trying to riff, especially when Hans and Franz came. We would go, and really, we got so silly. I mean, you're so tired and stressed out. Sometimes I'd put on music on a boombox, and you, me, Victoria, and Dennis would just dance around in there, right? Just because of the stress.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I remember like Sandler and Farley and you too, Spade. Didn't you guys have an office on the other side by the writer's room next to Chris Rock's?
We had Herb Sargent's old Update office. So it was like that corner.
Yeah, it was like a frat house in there. I'd go in there. There'd be like Playboy magazines everywhere, pizza boxes on the floor. And then you go into Rock's office and it was like pristine. He had like Malcolm X posters, Martin Luther King, all kinds of African-American culture books on this, and just spotless.
We're just all idiots because Farley would wipe his butt with the USA Today. You know, one time I was going to the rap party and they said, and they go, hey, and then I see Norm on Monday. I think you guys overlap with Norm. And I go, Norm, I didn't see you at the party. He goes, no. I go, well, I saw you getting a limo. I went to Atlantic City. Why? To gamble. Like I'm the asshole. To gamble. I go, oh, well, sorry. I don't know. I thought those are for the party. The poor limo driver's going, keep going straight. Sir, we're about 30 minutes away from the party. I think it's at Ollie's.
Every week he'd surprise the limo driver. Atlantic City.
I
know. And the guy goes, oh, fuck, I get Norm. I'm going to be back tomorrow.
Lovitz was telling me a story where, or somebody was telling me about how Lovitz loaned Norm a couple $100, like $200 to gamble. Mm-hmm. And the next day, Norm didn't pay him back. And they were touring somewhere together. And then the next day he asked him again. He goes, Norm, you got the $200? And he kept asking him. And then after a week, after he asked him, Norm goes, you only lost $200. I lost $5,000. What are you complaining about?
It was $8,000. Why are you writing me for? I lost like $8,000.
You only lost $200.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
But, you know, I was there for 9 years, so I worked with a lot of different people. You know, I saw, Spade came in and then Mike Myers, Farley, Tim Meadows, everybody. I mean, it was, and then we got a lot of those wild cards, like Michael McKean and Chris Elliott, and Janine Garofalo and Sarah Silverman.
McKinney.
Ben Stiller. Mark McKinney, yeah.
Oh, yes. Ben Stiller, who lived in the Bromley as well during that time.
He did?
Yeah.
Fucking Bromley.
And he got let go from the show, and I was doing very well in the show, and I'd run into him in the elevator. I go, how are you okay? And he was, went on. The guys who get fired or don't get hired for the show seem to do extremely well. Jim Carrey, Ben Stiller.
Jim Carrey was on the show?
No, but he didn't get hired.
He auditioned.
Right.
He auditioned with us,
We should have Jim on just to talk about how he didn't get it.
That audition, he destroyed. I mean, I
think most people got fired from that show.
Yeah. I didn't know Farley and Sandler got fired.
Yeah, I mean, the year I left, Sandler and Was it Farley? Both got fired?
Yeah, I didn't even know that for fucking 20 years because they're both doing so well. I didn't know that there was any friction. I don't think there was. I think
the idea is that they wanted to come back and were told no.
That's so weird. That's so weird. They're both huge stars.
And I was kind of forced out of there too. You know, there wasn't much
you were
future
bum
for
rushed?
me in there.
Were you bum rushed out?
I knew that was my last year that they'd have me. But luckily I got a sitcom with DreamWorks with Spielberg. So I had something to go to after that.
It was called
what was
something
it called?
and something. Hiller and Diller.
It was called Pushed Out the Door was the working title.
Kevin, you've done a lot of Sandler movies. Which one do people know you from the most, do you think?
Mostly Happy Gilmore. And Grandma's Boy, even though he wasn't in that one.
What was the one where you had, was it Just Go With It? You had plastic surgery. You looked hilarious.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. Was that a lot of makeup?
It was 4 hours in the makeup chair, and they only used one day. I did like three or 4 days of sitting in that chair, but they only used one day of my shooting. But the most fun I had was doing Blended, where we shot in South Africa.
Oh yeah, I saw that
for 2 months. We went on safaris and everything. It was cool. Yeah, I've done like 13 Sandler films.
Seriously, 13. So you've done 10% of his films. Every time I'm in a Sandler movie, it's a terrible, terrible bomb. I was in Little Nicky. And then I was in Jack and Jill. Those are the only. So I should never be in another Sandler film. Both very funny. Adam doing his thing, but
I'm from the South, the deep South. Kevin, I have a question for you. Oh, first of all, back to I got 2, but Bathroom Attendant. I was there for. I thought that was one of that sketch was fucking killed if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was with Harvey Keitel. It's one of my favorite sketches I wrote on that show. And, you know, there's a thing I have about bathroom attendants. It just seems so unnecessary, you know, to have a bathroom attendant to dry your hands and to, you know, give you, and then have candy on the counter. Because, you know, once you go to the bathroom, you immediately want to refill your supply, you know.
I always give him $10 and go, if anyone asks, I wash my hands. And he's like.
So you know, I've always kind of had that little thing about bathroom attendants. So I finally wrote up this sketch about a bathroom attendant in a very small bathroom with just one toilet.
That was the tiniest set that. Too. That was funny. Yeah. And Keitel was great. That was good. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And he was into it. He fucking loved it.
Yeah, he did. And then Farley comes in at the end, like he's my regular customer.
Oh, what a great way to get out. Yeah.
You know who helped me with that was Mike Shoemaker, who was one of the associate producers at the time. Or at the time, I think it was maybe just, I don't know, a PA or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, he kind of had a lot of good little ideas for it.
Yeah, he still works at Seth. He has a big job over there. And it says you went to Sacred Heart. These are my 2 last things. You went to Sacred Heart, and I don't really care about that, but you at Sacred Heart as comedians, because we're all like in the comedy biz. That was one where I was doing gigs, you know, on weekends at SNL. I went from getting $3,000 a night. I think I maybe got up to $5,000 a night. But they go, take a car. I think that's drivable, right, Kevin? Is that far drivable?
Yeah, it's like an hour and 15 from New York.
So they go, do 45 to an hour, right? Which was kind of a tough swing because I was not really even a headliner when I got hired. I was pretty solid middle, but you know, sometimes they make a middle do 35. I go, get fucked. I would do 25 maybe. But anyway, so I do, I go to headline. I've got about 50, 55, and I'm like, shit, this is going to be tough, but I gots to do it because I'm getting the dinero. So I go all the way there. Yeah, so I go to Sacred Heart. I remember this name. And they're all sitting on like a fireplace or something. And schools are great. They have extra money. They hire you to come in. But I haven't really caught fire or anything. I'm just like a comedian. They don't really know me. So I'm just like, I go and they're all like sitting cross-legged on the floor. I think I remember this right. Maybe 200 kids. So you guys all been here. So I'm doing my fucking act. It's bombing ferociously. And I'm buzzing through it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not doing well. And I know they don't want me there. But I'm like, blah, blah. And this is my big lesson in comedy. So I do it and I buzz through everything. But I did 43. And all I had to do was go like, hey, where's this guy from? You know, not even a closer, just some conversation and then get off. But I leave and the guy goes, up. He wouldn't pay me. He goes, you did 43. You're supposed to do 45. And I go, And he had me. That's a contract thing because you can't say you bombed because that's subjective, but you can say you didn't fulfill your contract. So I left without a check. And then Gervitz called him and yelled at him, and they finally paid me.
The funny part
That's
about
the thing, man. When you go somewhere, if you're traveling far, you want to come home with a check. One time I worked with Bill Maher and Tommy Davidson up in Rochester or Buffalo, New York. We had to fly from New York in I did on a little plane, prop plane. Yeah. I got there and I got really sick before the show. I had some kind of a stomach bug. And I only felt good if I laid on a cot backstage. And Bill Maher did his set, Tommy Davidson did his set, and I didn't want to go home without getting paid. Mm-hmm. So I asked the stage manager if he would put the cot out on the stage and I could lay on the cot and do my act from the cot on my side. And that's what I did. I did it. And I told the people I was depressed. I said, I'm just so depressed. I got to lay down. I did my act, and they were dying. They were loving it. And occasionally I tried to get up and do my act, and I felt bad again, like I was going to throw up. So I had to I said, I'm depressed again. I got to lay down. So well that I started taking that cot with me to gigs.
How was your new one?
But it never worked as well as that when it was real.
I once had one where I was chewing gum for some silly reason. Never chew gum before you do stand-up. And now, please welcome Packed House. And then I bit my tongue. And it was bleeding the whole set. I was just swallowing blood and trying to smile. My teeth were kind of smeared with blood.
Sickening. Kip Adada pooped his pants. You ever hear that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was famous. A lot of comedians shit their pants.
Poor Kip Adada. That's all we remember his whole act.
Did you ever have a thing where you hadn't done stand-up in a while, but you're on Saturday Night Live, and then they're paying you a lot of money, and you do what you think is your whole hour, but it's like 32 minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Because you're just so out of shape. You go so fast, and you're just like, oh, my God, that's why I always had the guitar, so I could just goof around on that.
And you forget chunks. I remember doing my act after I haven't done it for a while, and I'm like, that used to kill, and someone goes, you didn't even do the middle of it. And I go, huh? Because you forget. You're like, how does this track? And that's why it's almost like a play where you have to, every line is important if it's well written. Every line makes sense and it's economized to where you have to do it a certain way. You can kind of riff off that, but you have to get the basics down. And if you don't lay the groundwork, one joke was so stupid. I think I was saying there was no traffic today, but everything was based on there was traffic. And so I just said one word wrong and then nothing worked. And then later, someone goes, you said the opposite. I go, I did? And then it makes sense. You go, oh, it's, you can't figure it out.
Who's critiquing you always afterward? They're just someone
There's always someone there, the court stenographer going, well, tonight, I know you thought you did well.
A lot of that has to do with nerves, too. Like when you're starting out, you kind of do that. You forget stuff. That's why I love doing the warm-ups on SNL, because it took some of the stress away from me and anxiety, because I was already I met the audience and they've seen me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not coming out kind of like, all brand new and,
Oh, I had to do that sometimes. I think, I don't know if I was assigned it from you, but after you, but it was hard because Marcy's like, get out there. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm getting ready for a sketch. So I got to go up and do like 5 or 10 minutes because we were new. So she would always rough us up. Get out there. Lauren's mad at you, and then walk away. I go, what?
Lauren's always mad.
I know, Lauren. It's the easiest thing. What about when Lauren would walk around the set with his Amstel Light and a glass, and he'd just walk around in between, during a commercial, and you're like, get out of here, because it's too nerve-wracking already. And
I know. And he'd say stuff.
Maybe kill.
We were doing something with Danny DeVito. I can't remember. I think Kevin was in it. And Lauren, during the commercial break, goes, this has to breathe. It was just kind of those sort of notes.
Whatever that means.
And he always would say, this is just Lauren's sense of humor. You'd walk down the hallway and he'd say, still with the show was another one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I thought it was funny.
I would try to huddle up with him by the monitor. Hey, Lauren, what's up? Sometimes they go, Lauren wants to talk to you right after Gap Girls. And I'd be summoned to the monitor, during the commercial, and it's really loud. They're playing the band. He's like, I think the ending, you could do this. He's like, that's how it works. They give notes and they do it right there while it's fresh in his brain. And then you have to go wait to see if it even gets picked for air. That was dress rehearsal, I should clarify. And then you've got your notes going. I know what to do if it stays in the show.
Yeah.
You change all, you tighten it and you go, hey, I made it shorter, like selling it, like it won't take up much room, so you can still put it on, and then.
You guys ever visit? You ever go up there and visit?
I've just been there. If I did Fallon, then usually I'd see Lorne, and then maybe do something on the show. But yeah, I
used to go up there. I used to go up there to visit, say hi to Lorne if I was playing at Caroline's or something.
Yeah.
But the last few times I went, it was really difficult because Lorne was so busy because there was other people that were visiting him, like Paul Rudd and Tom Hanks, and they're all around the monitor. And it's like you don't even exist, Yeah.
A lot of people go around that monitor. I went in and did a church lady on Update. This was pre-pandemic. And then I walked around the monitor and I saw two people going, wow, that was awesome, clapping. And I just kept walking and they go, hey, that was Jay-Z and Beyonce. Oh. Okay.
Well, Will Forte summed it up. He goes, you never feel less needed when you go back to SNL now. It's like you're almost invisible.
You're of no use anymore. I remember when I finished my high school track career and the coach was so indifferent toward me. I did my last race and I kind of wanted to talk about the experience. I go, see you later. Yeah. You're just sort of done. And
you've been squeezed dry.
I've had other cast members email me who've left, like Fred Armisen, basically saying, well, how do I deal with this? The emotional hangover of it, and then watching and seeing people doing your job. And in some cases doing it a lot better.
Without a beat,
you never totally get over doing that show. Nobody does. On some level, you either have a dream about it or think about it. It's too intense. Don't you guys think? I mean, it's always somewhere.
When I left that show, I couldn't imagine something superseding that as far as being notable. I always wondered, I wonder if I'll ever do anything that's kind of as notable as that show was.
And live and weird. And
doing a movie and then it waits a year to come out. It takes 6 months to get it together. Then you shoot it and everyone's like, where have you been? One guy,
for me, Weeds came along and that was something that people really liked. And it was a different kind of a feeling than SNL, but it was fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
And it was a very acclaimed show.
This Uber driver goes, hey, it's like about a year or two ago, he goes, this is how bad showbiz is. He goes, hey, what about that guy, Chris Pratt? You never see him anymore. What happened to him? I go, Chris Pratt? I think he was in Jurassic World and that other one with the fucking raccoon. Those are two of the biggest movies in history. He's like, yeah, but what else? He hasn't been anything lately. I go, it was this year. I go, what the fuck have I done? Jesus. He's like, yeah, we haven't done shit. But people, if they didn't see your movie you did once, you did one movie, like I did Wrong Missy. Then if they miss that, then it's such a chunk of movies they haven't seen. Like it's such a gap because it takes a year to get it together. Then you shoot it. Then it waits to come out. Then you try to get another one. So everyone's always like, well, you got any movies coming out? It's like the most question I get asked the most. And then if you tell them, they go, oh yeah? What else?
Well, no one knows what anyone's doing. You can make stuff up. I was doing that with Mark Pitta would open for me, the comedian Mark Pitta in Vegas. This was even like 8 years ago. And we would make up. He had just starred in the sort of the Blackjack Network. He starred in I've Had Just About Enough of You. And he get a big applause like he's a star. Nobody knows what anyone's doing. No one sees anything.
I just want to drop things in Deadline that I'm starting and then never do them. Just have people go, hey, I heard you got a lot of shit going on.
Spade, you should ask that Uber driver, where have you been driving lately? I haven't seen you driving anywhere.
No, I've been all over.
They never get that. I always like when you're jealous, like if your wife sees someone on TV, that guy's really handsome or whatever, or it's Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt or something. The kind of thing you would say is like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Or like a great comic, like any great comedian. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't really get it. But what are you going to do?
That stuff works. And you go, and they're like, what do you mean that stuff? No, that kind of comedy, that'll always work.
Comedy's very subjective,
I had the stagehand in the wings right before I went out. Hey, Mr. Carvey, last week we had Sinbad. Let me tell you something. That guy killed harder than any fucking comedian. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand, and he was doing all these jokes about local establishments and highways, and they went fucking nuts. Don't you love to hear that right before you go out?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I actually followed Sinbad and I couldn't. He killed so hard, and I was like, I'll just kind of beep bop up there, and I was starting to get nervous, going, oh, he's really killing, because it was a corporate gig, and he knew everything about the corporation. He's like, according to Section 42, and everyone's like, wah! I go, God damn.
But Spade, what has he done lately? I haven't seen him around. You know what I mean? What's he been doing? You know, he's just kind of disappeared. You know.
He goes, you know, when you wear your underpants so much.
On the Guys and Dolls Network. The Guys and Dolls Network. He's huge. He's a primetime.
Actually, Dennis goes, I did Star Search. I'm up against Sinbad. I'm doing my best fucking joke. Sinbad walks up after me and goes, you ever wear your underpants so many times it's just a rubber band? 4 stars.
Sometimes I watch movies with my son.
It's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's 14.
He's like, Spade, I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or if you had an indigestion right there.
I'm just talking to off camera to people.
Oh,
go ahead.
Well, sometimes I'll watch movies with my son. He's 14, and we'll be watching a movie, and he'll go, "Is that guy still alive? That actor? Is that actor still alive?" I go, "Yeah, that's Sandler. That's Adam Sandler." And then he goes, "What about that guy next to him?" I said, "That's me. That's me. I'm still alive."
So, Kevin, I asked David this a couple weeks ago, and I said, when you're watching TV and you're kind of bored, do you ever check the age of the actor and their net worth? And he doesn't. Have you ever checked the age of the actor or the net worth while you're watching a show?
I check the age sometimes, but like the last person I did that to was, what's his name? The guy from Jaws, the older
Robert Shaw.
Yeah, Robert Shaw. Because I remember as a kid watching that movie, he looked so old. And then I checked his age. He was like 46 or something like that.
Yeah, that's
in that movie?
Or 45, yeah.
Wow.
And he died. Yeah. He died in Ireland. He was driving with his wife and kid, and he didn't feel good. He got out of the car and he had a heart attack on the street at 47.
Whoa!
Well, should we end on that?
But so I checked his age when he did Jaws. You know,
put it on the side of the road and put it on me over and do me CPR.
Jaws, what a great.
You'll be pressing on me cavity. Kevin Nealon.
I check the age of the Disney kids when they're doing the movies. I say, how old is that kid making all that money?
I looked.
Do you know how old Nemo was? Nemo was just a child actor.
Yeah, he was. And then he, but you know what? There's a lot of fish in the sea.
Dory was, I don't know, forget it. This bit's bombing. Anyway, Kevin, I got to jump off.
Kevin,
you and Danny can go on for a couple.
We've tortured
you. We got a million things going.
We've tortured you enough.
It's going to take a long time to unpack this show and figure out what happened.
Yeah, we got to edit this down.
We can edit the shit out of this, man. I had
was it like 5 minutes? Is it a 5-minute show?
Kevin, we're going to get you a copy of this.
Hang on a second, guys. What is it, Marcy? Marcy says I need to do warm-ups for the show.
You got to get going and do warm-ups? Yeah, Lauren wants you. Lauren's
we are going to have Marcy Klein as a guest on this show because she is the linchpin of a lot of the era of Saturday Night Live.
She knows stories.
She was the mother, the dog. She was everything. She was behind the scenes, above the scenes. So yeah, she's got a lot of great stories.
All right, Kevin. Thanks, buddy. Good.
Oh, wait a minute. I got a great story for you guys.
Oh boy. Go ahead. Oh, he hung up.
Yeah. Okay, that was the hook.
Good
that's
one.
A funny. Yeah. That's funny shtick.
Hey, what's up, flies? What's up, fleas? What's up, people that listen? We want to hear from you and your dumb questions.
Questions, ask us anything. Anything you want.
You can email us at flyonthewall@cadence13.com. Hey, everybody. Spade here. I apologize for looking badass. I just threw this coat on because it was 95 today, and I want to look cool. But listen, I get a lot of questions. Dana and I both do. I'll answer this one. Norm Macdonald, obviously big in the folklore of SNL and how great he was and blah, blah, blah. We all know about Norm, and a lot of the questions are any Norm Macdonald stories. Obviously, we have hundreds. One of the ones I like is when we would text, he's like a child. You know, he's nothing normal about him, so it's infuriating. And he would text in the middle of nowhere. He was a big-time canceller of plans, one of the all-time greats. And also with the shenanigans you have to put up with. So let's say he texts me, David, what are you doing? And then I answer, I go, oh, hey, Norm, what's going on? And then he waits about 2 weeks. Then he goes, hello? David, don't you like me anymore? And I go, Norm, I did answer you. What do you need? Do you want to meet up? Do you want to go eat? And then about 4 a.m, David, why do you hate me? And then it would go into this one. Do you like money? And I go, yes. David, would you like to win money beyond your wildest dreams? No, he didn't say win. He goes, would you want more money than you could ever count? And I go, of course I would. And then like 4 days later, David, are you still thinking about the money? And I go, I am. And he goes, if you really like it, I'll tell you how you can get it. And I go, please. And then about 3 days later, he says, bet the under on the Chicago Blackhawks in the first period. First of all, how much am I betting when I'm going to win money beyond my wildest dreams? Do I have to bet $1 trillion? I said, I'll put a nickel on it. It sounds like gambling talk. I don't even know what it means. But that he would do that and then he'd pee in a bottle. But Norm was, there's too many Norm stories that are too funny. But he's always like this. He's very stiff. Ah! You ask him any normal question, he answers it like it's crazy. Me and him and Dennis Miller did a gig right before the Corona. All of us 3 crazy people. And he goes, David, when's the show? I go, 8. He goes, what? I go, Norm, there isn't a more typical showtime in the world than 8. If it was 7:45, you could say that. If it was 8:01, you could say that. You can't say it at 8. And then if you tell him any real news, like, oh my God, Russia just invaded LA, he goes, oh yeah, when? That doesn't shock you? They invaded LA? They dropped a bomb in LA today? You're supposed to go, what? That's when you say, what? He's got it all mixed up. Anyway, Norm's great. We do miss him. Thank you for the question.